The boy only demonstrated the most basic boxing techniques, but this greatly shocked the gifted students. Even the instructors were shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. This is a combat technique never seen before. Is he still the cowardly Jaikai no? Before this, Zeke was the strongest knight on the continent. Born into the Empire's greatest dragon-slaying family, however, he awakened a healing profession that had nothing to do with slaying dragons. Furthermore, they are unable to use the unique aura of a knight. Ultimately, he was expelled from his home for this reason. To survive, he had no choice but to keep fighting, because he knew all too well that the weak were destined to be trampled by the strong. This is the truth of the world. Later, by chance, he obtained the legendary ancient artifact. However, this led to them being hunted down by the Empire. Although he ultimately killed all the enemies single-handedly, but he was also seriously injured and on the verge of death. Even powerful healing spells had no effect. At this moment, he slowly took out an ancient relic from his pocket. I'm sorry, Alicia. The next second, the ancient artifact emitted bursts of golden light. Its powerful will awakening ancient power. The ancient dragon's soul will be imprinted on the souls of those with strong wills, triggering emergency measures. Does Zeke Drake agree? At first, he thought it was just nonsense, so he agreed without thinking. Then a notification popped up, activating the irreversible power. As the countdown ended, the next second he opened his eyes again. He found himself transported back to the past. However, he quickly accepted everything, and he clearly remembered. This is the cradle of the Drake family. Drake, the Dragon Slayer, is a hero who killed the evil dragon Bahamut in the war between humans and dragons 1,000 years ago, saving the continent. The Drake family, one of the 3 super-powerful families, was founded by the descendants of Draking Drake, the Dragon Slayer. This is why all those with Drake blood receive the blessing of Chi. They are able to more easily establish their aura and become a knight. But Zeke is the only exception. Just then, a notification sounded in the window ahead. The ancient dragon's soul was completely integrated into the soul of the Chosen One. The next second, countless windows suddenly appeared before his eyes. The lower-level manager status window displays Jackie Derrick, a healer by profession, and someone blessed by an ancient dragon. Below that are some skill displays. He was utterly shocked. It was like a magical image that could penetrate. Moreover, terms like occupation and skill are no longer used in modern times. Then he suddenly remembered what his master had once told him. In ancient times, people distinguished various professions based on individual abilities, and the techniques derived from those professions were called skills. Therefore, his healer profession allowed him to use healing skills. Initially, his master required him to train every day, citing the reason that healers are very robust. In short, based on the current situation, I'm already a healer, so let's give it a try. The next second, a flawless white light emanated from his hand, making it seem real. In my past life, I became a healer at the age of 20 after opening the Ether Hall. At that moment, he closed his eyes and began to meditate. Sure enough, my Ether Hall has now been unlocked. Although the physical benefits I had previously gained from training have disappeared, but I returned with my skills and memories, and in this life he is in a more advantageous position compared to before his return. To make better use of all this, he must understand the cards he holds. Just then, Zeke's butler, Decker, slowly appeared before him. Have you forgotten that there was something important today, young master? Zeke has been terrified of Decker since childhood. Even though he's mentally 32, the deep-seated fear is indelible. Just then, his professional skill, calmness, was activated and the tension in his heart vanished instantly. It can even be used automatically? At that moment, Decker slowly spoke. Young master, are you listening to me? Zeke, of course, affirmed. You mean the evaluation exam Pancraquin, right? It's important to know that all children with Drake blood need to undergo rigorous training at Cradle 7 for up to 5 years. Pancraquin is a combat sport without any rules. Instructors use Pancraquin in sword fighting matches to evaluate their students. The instructors decide on the sparring partners, but they can also designate opponents through mutual consultation. Because it is not subject to any rules, there will be injuries and even deaths. But since this evaluation is related to class placement in the academy, the children can only do their best. The scene shifts, and now we only see the days of instructor Pancraquin. Everyone knows this is the last evaluation. Now, everyone, please get ready. Meanwhile, the crowd began to murmur amongst themselves. They were surprised that Zeke dared to come again. Hadn't he been badly beaten up last year? And was this guy even a direct descendant? Aaron and Gutta then began their duel. With the instructor's command. The next second, Aaron kicked out and instantly ended the fight. If the chin is left undefended during a fight, of course it will look like this. When I was a kid, I was always trembling with fear whenever I faced a duel, but now it seems so easy. Meanwhile, Zeke was completely unaware. Someone nearby was watching him, itching to fight. After a short while, it was finally Zeke and Raven's turn to face off. At this moment, Zeke slowly spoke. I didn't expect it to be you again, Raven. But that's not surprising, since he's my opponent every year. Zeke knew perfectly well that they must have some kind of deal going on behind the scenes. This despicable guy is actually actually my relative. The 4 direct descendants of the Drake family in his previous life had almost never met. However, I have more than a dozen cousins who often bully me. At this moment, Raven slowly spoke up. Zek, I have to praise you this time. After being beaten so badly last time, you still had the courage to crawl out. Upon hearing this, Zeke's calming ability activated instantly, and he calmed down in no time. If you continue to mock me for being an inferior factor, I won't let you get away with it. Then Raven grabbed his hair and said, what can you do if you don't let me go? The next second, he suddenly activated his skill and struck with deadly accuracy. It struck his face on the spot. I was originally planning to knock him out immediately, but the skill activated on its own. At the same time, the instructor asked in surprise, I haven't even announced the start yet. Why have you started? Zeke, however, was utterly disdainful. Wasn't the principle of striking first in a fight? The instructor was utterly shocked upon hearing this. I actually sensed a murderous aura emanating from the students. Then Raven's voice rang out, Instructor, let's begin. I'll teach that inferior person a lesson they won't forget. With the instructor's command. The next second, Raven quickly got into position and attacked Zeke. He was constantly on guard against Zeke's left hand. Just as Zeke threw a left punch, Raven suddenly crouched down. He then picked up Jake's body and tried to throw him to the ground. But just then, Raven's expression suddenly tightened. They then quickly widened the distance between them. The instructor was utterly shocked. Was this really the combat ability of a 12-year-old child? The moment Raven dodged Zeke's attack and pushed him down, he thought he had it in the bag. Unexpectedly, Zeke swiftly attacked Raven's chin, breaking free from his grasp. Even though the attack failed, Zeke remained very calm and simultaneously made the right offensive moves. He possesses exceptional skill and focus. Is he really the Gecko Drake I know? At the same time, Raven was just thinking of creating distance. However, Zeke crippled his left leg with a single blow. Upon seeing this, Raven immediately threw a punch at him. With the help of his concentration skill, Zeke swiftly dodged every attack from Raven. It seems I've gotten used to controlling the ether. Let's end this here. The next second, he suddenly unleashed an over-the-shoulder throw. At the same time, a fatal skill was activated, shattering his ribs on the spot. At this moment, he slowly spoke. Even if your learning ability is not enough, but at this level, you should be able to learn a lot. What is that? How dare you yell at me like that? Just then, he suddenly remembered something. I remember all your names, so don't look around. If you're not convinced, come down and have a match. This was the threat Jack had just made. At that moment, a figure slowly stood up. Jack Derrick, I'm challenging you to a duel. The speaker was Jaken Waldock, a distant cousin of Zeke. It's okay, but you're too bored by yourself. Liamston, you two come at me together, you servants. Only then can it be considered a balanced contest. Upon hearing this, Jaken immediately flew into a rage. Are you insulting me? Isn't that obvious? A moment later, the instructor announced the start of the duel. Jake gazed at the boy before him, lost in thought. Mercenary King Liam. In his previous life, Liam served as Jaken's servant, graduating from the cradle and entering the academy. Because he was a distant relative by blood, he was abandoned during his education. Later, he joined the knights of a small kingdom called Baranavan. After Baranavan was destroyed, he became a mercenary. After a long life as a mercenary, he reached the level of a Crimson Knight and founded his own private mercenary group. Ultimately, he became the Mercenary King, unifying the 3 major mercenary groups. Later, the Empire hired a collaborating mercenary group, leading Liam to participate in the Continental War. The North and the Empire had always been enemies, and Zeke, being a northerner, became his enemy. But this time it should be different, right? At the same time, Jaken suddenly threw a punch at him, but Zeke easily blocked it. I clearly said you two would come together. But Jaken ignored him and instead kicked him. Soon, a piercing pain surged from Jaken's right foot to his heart. It turns out that Gickley used his elbow to defend, just as Jaken was in a daze. At this moment, Zeke had already moved to stand in front of him. Then he followed up with a punching motion. Upon seeing this, Jaken immediately covered his face with both hands. But the next second, Zeke suddenly launched an attack on his right foot. You can't even spot this feint. That's why I told you two to come at me together. You're so bored by yourself. In no time at all, Jaken was beaten so badly he was completely powerless to fight back. Liam, kill him for me. The next second, Liam slowly walked towards Zeke, exuding a powerful killing intent. Is this guy really 12 years old like us? Jake knew that if Jake gained the upper hand, he would have no choice but to follow his lead, so he launched the first attack on Liam. The next second, countless figures suddenly appeared around him, and then launched an attack on him. Everyone watching was utterly shocked. What kind of offensive technique was this? Even the instructors seemed somewhat surprised. This was indeed a technique they had never seen before. The central part of the continent is primarily known for swordsmanship, so boxing, a style of martial art found in the north, is rarely seen. At the same time, Zeke suddenly realized that his body was still too weak and he couldn't sustain an attack for long. However, more problematic than any of these issues is Liam's monstrous physique. He's been nonchalantly defending himself, yet he should have been far more offensive impressive as the Mercenary King. At this moment, Zeke clenched his right fist tightly. Since my body has already reached its limit, let's focus all our strength on shattering its defenses. The next second, Zeke suddenly unleashed an incredibly powerful punch. Upon seeing this, Liam immediately turned his head to dodge it. Zeke was shocked. He shouldn't be able to see the ether. This guy's senses were just too sharp. Just then, Liam suddenly grabbed Zeke's right hand. Then he tried to throw him to the ground. But the next second, Zeke broke free from his arm. Then, using the focused senses skill, I used my body to firmly lock him in place. He completed the rear naked choke in no time. No matter how strong your body is, if you cut off the air and blood supply to your brain, you're helpless, right? At the same time, Liam was seen frantically swinging his fists and attacking Zeke. That's right, let's see who can last longer. The two then engaged in a protracted battle. Everyone present was utterly shocked by this. Even the instructors couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. They all wanted to know who would win this duel. In no time, the sounds of battle ceased and Liam was found lying unconscious on the ground. At that moment, a boy in the audience smiled. Yes, this is more like it. That's the only way to defeat you, Zeke Drake. Right after Zeke won the duel, the butler asked him, "Young master, I heard you were seriously injured in Panklikvan. If it's convenient, may I take your pulse?" Zeke already knew his intentions. Did he want to confirm whether I had awakened my ki? Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately extended his left hand. The next second, a surge of blue energy instantly entered his body. He was immediately shocked. Was he really the Blue Knight? Normally, the only way to confirm awakening is to check the dantian, but he checked the entire body through the meridians. Transmitting chi into another person's body is a very difficult task, requiring precise control over chi. It seems he truly is the Azure Knight. Knights are also divided into different ranks, with several levels based on their strength and ability to control their spirit. The White Swordsman stage refers to the initial learning phase of swordsmanship. Most children in the cradle are white swordsmen before the blessing ceremony. After awakening their chi, orange tier swordsmen enter a stage where they can train their dantian. Students in the cradle who have received the blessing will become orange tier swordsmen, and they can freely control their chi. Purple knights are the stage where one can obtain the knight title. They can enhance their swords with chi. The blue knight awakens the blue aura stage. Finally, there is the realm that only those who transcend limits can reach. The mercenary King Liam from my past life and the Crimson Knight I was able to become. Although there are black knights, those monsters are extremely rare, with only a handful found across the entire continent. He was very curious as to why a knight commander level figure would be working as a butler here. But this is useless, because one's aura cannot be detected by their demeanor. Just then, the butler slowly spoke up and said, "Young master, are you hiding something from me?" "Why do I say that?" "It seems like Decker, you're hiding something." "Young master, why have you suddenly changed so much?" Upon hearing this, Jike immediately changed his tone, saying, "You should ask me why I'm only making this change now. There will be more changes in the future, but everything will eventually return to normal. You just need to follow me obediently." "I understand, young master. As per your request, I have prepared the training room." Zeke then turned and left. If he's someone spying on me, then I'll keep him around to extract information. But the question is, which side is he on? He's probably one of a sibling, right? The scene shifts, and Zeke is in his personal training room. He then summoned the status window. Judging from the window display, many skills have improved from novice to proficient. He was very puzzled. Were these automatically activated skills present from the beginning? Would the skills I learn later also appear in my skill bar? But what's the difference between a professional skill and a skill? Although their activation methods are similar. Furthermore, there are dragon skills, which actually require 10 achievement points to unlock. Achievement points can only be obtained by defeating monsters, and defeating monsters requires at least the strength of a purple knight. Why did I travel back in time? And what is this system? Judging from the job skills, it should be related to ancient relics. There is still too little information available, but I'm willing to do anything to become stronger, whether it is the system or the Drake family. There are two kinds of power in this world, the knight's aura and the mage's mana. The knight controls his aura through his dantian. The mage controls mana through rings. These two powers conflict. Once mana is awakened, one cannot use ki, and vice versa. Zeke's talent was so poor that he lacked both a dantian energy center and a magic ring. Later, when he was abandoned by his family, he met his master. His master helped him awaken the healing profession and taught him how to use ether. Therefore, he and his master are the most outstanding people in the world, the only person capable of using etheric power. After 2 hours of sword-wielding practice, Zeke's body had already reached its limit, but with the help of his healing abilities, his body quickly recovered. However, he dared not use this power in front of others, because they would see that as a monster. Now that your strength and injuries have recovered, let's get back to training. The scene shifts to the cradle's public dining area, where everyone is now engaged in lively discussion. That Zeke seems like a completely different person. Could he have used dark magic? Although Zeke played very aggressively against Pankrich, he certainly couldn't win. That guy is so weak he can't even lift a sword. What chance does he have of winning? Seeing this, the two men who had been reprimanded by Zeke chimed in, saying that the guy had ordered a new sword because it was too heavy. I can't believe I lost to that inferior factor. He must have won by sheer luck. Just then, Lena slowly spoke up. Do you think that was just a fluke? If that's really what you think, then you are not qualified to be Drake's knights at all. Time flew by and the day of the fencing competition arrived. Unlike Pancraquin, this duel used real swords, so basically every year someone would die in the sword fighting competition. This competition revealed the differences between students, and a blessing ceremony for the Drake Awakening device will be held a month after the year-end evaluation. At the same time, Zeke slowly walked onto the stage, carrying a heavy sword, and his opponent was Reina. I've designated you as my opponent. Of course, Jake gladly accepted his challenge. At that moment, Lena suddenly realized that Zeke was far more complex than she had imagined. Could it be that his aura has become stronger because his physique has grown larger? But she quickly calmed down. I just needed to deal with him the same way as before. At this moment, Zeke couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He was still somewhat nervous about competing against the Flash Rider. Rina Thun, known as the Shining Knight, is one of the most active 5-star knights on the continent. She awakened her chi before the blessing ceremony and is considered a peerless prodigy among the next generation of Drakes. Although many years had passed since she awakened her aura at this time, but in order to lay a solid foundation, she didn't use air at all when cradle climbing. Just then, the instructor gave an order. The next second, Rina unleashed a thrust attack heading straight for Zeke. Upon seeing this, Jake immediately distanced himself from her. In the blink of an eye, Lena had already slipped behind him. Immediately afterwards, a powerful sword thrust was unleashed. Jake was instantly blasted dozens of meters away. I never expected her to be so strong. At the same time, shouts came from the crowd, Lena, stop messing around. Kill him quickly. However, one of the boys snorted coldly. In your eyes, is Lena teasing him? Although he couldn't see it very clearly either. But Lena kept looking for a weakness. But every time she tried to attack an opening, but Zeke always manages to block them. It's like Zeke prematurely revealed a weakness to Rina. This is practically instructing sword sparring. A loud bang was heard. The next second, the two sides widened the distance between each other. Lena was already panting heavily. Is this the power of the Flash Knight in his infancy? As expected, she was very fixated on basic swordsmanship, which is why she was bound by the established framework. Let me see if I can break her mold. The next second, Zeke instantly lowered his body. Lena realized he wanted to close the distance instantly, but she was determined not to lose to him in terms of speed. Just as she was thinking this, Zeke had already moved in front of her and then swung his sword down heavily. Seeing this, Lena immediately dodged to the side. I can still react as long as I keep my distance. Just then, Zeke picked up some pebbles from the ground and attacked her. Caught completely off guard, the gravel struck Lena directly in the face, just as Lena was in a daze. At this moment, Zeke had already moved to stand in front of her. He then swung a heavy sword at Lena's neck. At that critical moment, Rina used her ki to knock the heavy sword out of Zeke's hand. The moment the greatsword fell to the ground, everyone present was incredibly excited. Zeke had lost. Rina was amazing. She hadn't even used her ki in this match. But the instructor's expression was extremely unpleasant. No, although the students might not have noticed, but the moment Zeke's attack touched Rina, she used a barely perceptible amount of air. Before entering the academy, Lena had vowed never to use anger. Did they actually change their minds? Just then, Zeke teleported in front of her. The match wasn't over yet. The next second, Zeke threw a punch, which landed squarely on Rina's neck. Then Lena clutched her neck and knelt down on the ground. Seeing this, the onlookers expressed their dissatisfaction. This was a swordsmanship competition. They could not condone Zeke's use of such underhanded tactics. For a knight to lose his sword is a disgrace. The victor should be Rina. However, Zeke was dismissive of this, saying that winning was all that mattered. At that moment, Zeke slowly said to Rina, do you still want to continue? I haven't lost yet. I just let my guard down, giving him an opportunity to take advantage. But she quickly realized that if he was holding a dagger, she would already be dead. A moment later, Lena announced to everyone that she had lost. Everyone present was utterly shocked upon hearing this. Just a few days ago, Jake was considered a good-for-nothing by his family. He actually defeated Reina, who was hailed as a genius in the family. After Zeke won the swordsmanship match, his victory dealt a huge blow to the entire cradle. He himself hid in the training room and buried himself in hard training. At this moment, he opened his status window. As expected, once skill proficiency reaches the expert level, the level will increase. I learned the quick-step technique in a sword competition a month ago, and now I'm proficient at it. Just then, Zeke slowly spoke towards the door behind him. Decker, what brings you here? Young master, we are ready to depart. On the other side, the black-haired man said with a worried expression, Abel, can you still drink tea under these circumstances? That kid Zeke defeated Rina. Abel, however, seemed completely unconcerned. Don't worry too much, you always overthink things. It's been a long time since I've been back to my ancestral ancestral home. I wonder what interesting things our little brother will awaken. I'm very curious about this. The scene shifts, and Zeke boards a carriage bound for the city. The Drake family's main city is located in the Duchy of Troy, with their family center in the Four-Seasons city of Midland on the continent. However, the blessing ceremony will always take place in their main city, the origin of the legend of the Dragon Slayer. Moments later, Zeke arrived at the Drake family's main castle, the lair of the dragon, Ray. Looking at everything before him, Zeke appeared somewhat surprised. The participants here are all people you only see in mainland newspapers. Moreover, there should be surveillance agents among them, sent by my direct subordinates, to guard against me. Whatever their motives, once they know I cannot awaken, they will surely lower their guard against me. The next second, Zeke revealed an extremely angry expression. How could this guy be here? Meanwhile, Abel was talking with the nobles. He said he came to watch the blessing ceremony because his adorable younger brother was among the knights. Abel Drake, the second son of the Drake family, known as the Lion Sword. Having experienced his past life, Zeke knew that the title of Knight of Slaughter was more fitting for him. He was trying to calm himself down, since there was nothing he could do at the moment. He clearly remembered that Abel had never participated in the blessing ceremony in his previous life. Could it be that his actions had changed the future? Perhaps there will be a chance in this lifetime. At the same time, the blessing ceremony officially began. Aaron was the first to participate in the ceremony. He then dipped his right hand into the water and cut his palm. The next second, a surge of blue energy instantly enveloped him. Then it gathered in his dantian. All of Drake's blood relatives must undergo a blessing ceremony to open their dantian and awaken their chi upon graduating from cradle at the age of 12. The next Lena. In extremely rare cases, a special situation may occur where awakening the chi simultaneously awakens the characteristics of a dragon slayer, hindering mana. Just then, the mana lamp suddenly flashed a red light. Everyone present was extremely excited upon seeing this, because this is the path to achieving the pure-blooded awakening of a Crimson Knight or even a Black Knight. The instructor then gestured for them to bring the gloves. Because of the characteristics that hinder mana, she cannot even live a normal life without the family's specially made gloves. Because he proved he was a pure blood, he could use the name Drake and receive various forms of help and resources from the family. Just then, Zeke slowly stood on the awakening ceremony stage. Everyone present was extremely excited. His victory over Reyna must mean he had awakened a pure blood. Zeke, however, stared at the scene before him, lost in thought. He never imagined he would find himself standing before that damned bronze statue again. In his past life, he gritted his teeth and survived from the cradle, only to become the first member of the Drake family to fail in awakening. But will this time be different? Not only will he heal, he can also control his demeanor. More importantly, he stood up through his own will. So I'm counting on you this time, you damn bronze statue. But then the bronze statue remained motionless. Everyone present was utterly shocked by this. Even Abel's expression turned serious. This was something that had never happened before. As expected, I shouldn't have had any hope for him. It's all that guy's fault for making me have unnecessary expectations. Everyone was shocked. Was there really no possibility of awakening? How could this be happening to a direct descendant? He is a disgrace to the family. Just then, a notification popped up in front of Zeke. An error was detected during system processing, causing a delay in information transmission because the identification equipment lacked relevant occupational information. Information input is complete. The device has determined the user's ability to be healing, and the available professions have been confirmed. The next second, a red light instantly enveloped the bronze statue. Everyone present was utterly shocked. It was a red light. This must be a pure blood awakening. At the same time, a notification sounded again, activating the ancient dragon blessing imprinted on the user's soul and awakening the vampire talent, Fighter's Blood. Awakened talents combine to create unique professions. You have awakened the power of the immortal. Immediately after awakening the power of the immortal, everyone was in an uproar. Was he really a pure blood awakener? But the mana lamp isn't working. Could it be that the bronze statue is broken? Zeke realized that speaking at this moment would arouse suspicion from everyone. Just then, Abel clapped his hands and said, "Why are you all so serious? Two pure-blooded awakened beings appeared in this episode. Isn't this something we should celebrate?" Upon hearing this, the nobles present unanimously agreed. Yes, this is something to celebrate. He then gestured to his men. What are you all standing there for? Go get Zeke the gloves. In no time, Jike put on the special gloves. I know this guy's intentions very well. I'm in a really bad mood. At the same time, the instructor announced to everyone that the blessing ceremony was now over and that a celebration party would be held later, so everyone should have fun. Meanwhile, Jike was heading towards leaving this place. The next second, Abel called out to him on the spot. Where does Jike want to go in such a hurry? Congratulations on your pure blood awakening, he said, extending his right hand to Zeke. At this moment, Zeke fell into deep thought. Should he shake hands? If he refused, he would definitely sense my hostility. Maybe we should just go along with him for now. The next second, the inhumane scene of Abel flashed before his his eyes. Zeke then refused his handshake. Seeing this, Abel revealed an extremely contemptuous expression. "You're making me very embarrassed, Zeke." Zeke's expression tightened. "Even if I die, I will never hold your hand." At this moment, Abel slowly spoke. "There's no other way. Seeing you is enough. See you next time, Jike. Of course, we will meet again." The scene shifts, and Zeke is back inside the room. But why is nothing wrong? All pure-blooded awakened ones possess characteristics that hinder mana, indicating they have abilities completely opposite to those of mana-type dragons. However, most of the equipment is powered by mana, while pure-blooded awakened individuals need gloves provided by their families. If it truly is a pure-blooded awakened being, problems will definitely arise after removing the gloves. He then immediately opened his status window. It's completely different from before. It's not hindering mana but reflecting mana now? It seems like it needs to be analyzed slowly. The next second, detailed information about reflective mana appeared before his eyes. Reflective mana used a distorted magnetic field to neutralize the effects of surrounding mana. Is reflecting mana actually considered a skill? Is it because it doesn't activate constantly that the mana lamp is unaffected? Moreover, they were a rare profession before the ceremony, but now they are unique immortals. But he soon realized something was wrong. All students are ordinary awakened beings radiating blue light. Only Lena is a red-blooded, pure-blooded awakened being. He was red at first, and then turned gold. He vaguely remembered the system saying that the identification equipment was missing some information. Could the identification equipment be referring to that bronze statue? However, after the system input the information, the previously unresponsive bronze statue emitted a red light. At that moment, he suddenly realized that the bronze statue was not used to determine whether someone had awakened, but rather to determine whether the user was qualified. Rare professions are marked in red, while unique professions are marked in gold. It's only because the concept of profession has disappeared in modern times that it has become a tool to confirm whether one has awakened. So much so that rare professions are referred to as pure blood awakening by them. And how come no one in the successive family heads noticed this problem? He suddenly discovered that he had achievement points, which seems to have been obtained around that time. Therefore, he chose to use it without hesitation. The next second, countless notification windows popped up. Dragon skills unlocked. The Dragon Eye Dragon's Majesty and Gluttony skills require more achievement points to activate. But what does binge eating mean? Does it mean eating a lot and digesting quickly? I don't know what it is, but it looks pretty good. Then Jike unlocked the Dragon Eye and Dragon's Majesty skills. The next second, he suddenly activated the Dragon Eye skill. But it seems that nothing has changed much. However, he soon realized something was wrong, because the bronze statue in the courtyard seemed to be right in front of him. I didn't expect this to actually work. Just then, a pop-up notification appeared. Do you need to mark the information of the discovered items? The next second, detailed information about all the surrounding objects appeared before his eyes. Then Zeke suddenly lost all his strength. This dragon skill looks pretty powerful, but he quickly regained his strength using healing magic. Just then, he noticed that his healing factor had increased. The wounds on my body will heal on their own. That's wonderful. This is practically immortality. He then picked up a knife and slashed his hand. In no time at all, the wound on his hand was completely healed. Do I need to stay in college for a full 5 years to graduate? I think 2 years is enough. Right after Jike masters the longed and growing technique, he has now arrived at Drake Academy, the most prestigious night academy on the continent. Every spring, when the new school term begins, the entire capital city is brimming with energy. Surprisingly, the upperclassmen here are exactly like adults. Their bodies are so well developed that they are flawless. But compared to those of us born in the cradle, we are still far behind. Just then, Zeke noticed the nobles beside him. It seemed they had already established their own faction. Among the numerous branch families that support the Drake family, 3 are the most influential: Letichuan, James the Wise, and Walter of King. Did the children of these 3 families establish their own factions? But that doesn't concern me. The scene shifts, and Zeke arrives at Platinum Apartments, a high-class dormitory exclusively for pure-blood awakened individuals. Equipped with training grounds, libraries, and other convenient facilities, these high-class dormitories are reserved for the most outstanding students. Even the most promising students would find it difficult to secure a place here. Pure-blood awakened ones, on the other hand, were granted the privileges of floor managers. A moment later, a group of servants were seen welcoming Zeke's arrival. He was utterly shocked. Even if it was pure blood, this was just too outrageous. Just then, Decker found Zeke and said he had something to give him. It was just a new pair of gloves. I got new gloves this time, so I'll take this opportunity to forge a new sword. Decker agreed with this idea. The Duchy of Troy is located near the Giant Mountains, a region rich in high-quality iron ore and skilled artisans. Legend has it that the first weapon wielded by knights graduating from the academy was made in Troy. At this moment, Decker slowly said, "Do you need me to find you a good craftsman?" "No, because I have already found the right person." As he spoke, he handed Decker a card with his name on it. Guy Ron Hallport? This is the first time I've heard that name. I'll contact him immediately. "Oh, young master, these are the materials needed needed for tomorrow's class. Please take a look when you have time. Decker then turned and left, while Zeke fell into deep thought. As long as I live on the platinum floor, I can freely cultivate dragon skills. Just then, a servant beside him slowly said to Zeke, Miss Rena invites you to dine with her. Is it Rena? Then take me there to see her. The scene shifts, and Zeke arrives at the floor where Rena is located. Welcome, Jike. At that moment, Lena snapped her fingers, and the next second, the servant behind her turned and left. Sorry, some members of my family are special. Let's finish our meal before we get down to business. The scene shifts, and Zeke is now deep in thought. As expected of the girl known as the Shining Knight, she's controlling her chi using her dantian. Is she almost at the Purple Knight level? But why is her swordsmanship so rigid? It's such a waste of her talent. A moment later, after finishing her meal, Lena got down to business. Zeke, accept the Thun family's help. Upon hearing this, Zeke was quite puzzled. Have you forgotten that I, like you, am a pure-blooded awakener? It seems you have some misunderstanding about pure-blooded awakeners. We did indeed receive many benefits, such as this platinum floor. However, we will not receive any training resources. The Academy has accumulated centuries of academic and practical experience, and a personal trainer who can effectively improve your abilities. Without these, even if you have the greatest talent, you will ultimately be eliminated. Therefore, you need a family that can help you. Even Abel, who became the current Red Knight, received help from the Jamin family. Although the head of the Thun family didn't tell me the reason, it seems you didn't receive any help from your maternal family. I'll say it again, Zeke, accept the Thun family's help. However, Zeke immediately refused. Upon hearing this, Lena was immediately shocked. Why? It's a good thing that the Thun family is offering you help. At this moment, Zeke slowly spoke, it's not because of these things, but because I have absolutely no need for any favors other than those from pure-blooded awakened beings, since you sincerely treated me to a meal. Then I'll give you a suggestion. Your sword technique is too powerful. I guess you're too concerned about the people behind you. Listen up, Lena. Your strength lies in the flexibility of your supple body. Avoid direct attacks, use your power to defeat your opponent. Instead, they use their flexible bodies to evade the opponent's attacks. Then seize this opportunity to deliver a skillful blow to the enemy. If you can do these things, you will definitely be stronger than you are now. Upon hearing this, Lena immediately said with some dissatisfaction, Power is the symbol of the Thun family. I'm just following family tradition. But he was right. Because I've been trapped by my family's mindset, all of this has unconsciously been reflected in my sword. Did he actually see through it? Everyone has praised me as a genius since I was a child, but no one has ever given me any advice. Zeke, who exactly are you? At this moment, Jike is walking towards the dormitory. In his previous life, this place was nothing short of hell for him, but everything changed after becoming a pure-blooded awakener. This place is just like paradise. Just then, a voice called out to him. Jike, are you also in the special class? Owen Jamins is the third son of the Jamins family. In his previous life, he used others to bully Zeke and was a cunning fellow who was good at pretending to be a good person. He then slowly spoke. I invited you to dinner yesterday. Why didn't you reply? The letter on the table yesterday? Don't joke around. Why would I need to reply to you? The next second, a tall figure blocked Zeke's path. Zeke, how dare you ignore the young master's kindness? And Jack, quite curious, asks, who are you? I understand your desire to please the young master, but you should choose your target carefully before provoking him. At the same time, Zeke waved his hand to block the attacker's attack. The two sides then distanced themselves from each other. Didn't expect that the upperclassmen here would all be able to use auras? Then he spoke slowly. My name is Durbin Roswell. People here call me Strong Durbin. I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of young Master Owen. Super Strength Durbin? A guy who's not even a knight dares to take that nickname? The next second, Zeke appeared in front of him. Then he unleashed a punch imbued with a powerful aura. He was instantly sent flying dozens of meters away. So who comes after Durbin, the mighty one? Hurry up and decide, young Master Irving. At that moment, Irving slowly walked to Zeke's side. Don't be so arrogant, Zeke. Then they turned and left. Drake Academy can be broadly divided into two classes, regular classes, which have set courses and learning goals from morning to night, and special classes, which consist of the Academy's top students and allow them to freely choose courses in addition to the basic ones. At this moment, Zeke was acting as if he didn't care at all. I didn't expect this place to be full of people who were born in the cradle. Just then, the professor slowly said, to encourage the new students in the special class, we have invited a distinguished guest today, the captain of the Eastern Empire team 20 years ago, heroes who used their wisdom to organize the invasion of the Empire. Principal Howard Drake. Although the combat hero Howard is known as a heroic strategist, he is actually a scoundrel who leaks information about our side. However, due to a series of unforeseen circumstances, he disrupted the enemy's plans and ultimately became a hero. And most importantly, it was this guy who who kicked Zeke out of the academy in his previous life. This forced Zeke to wander the Principality of Troy. Ultimately, he was sold into slavery to Kurutl in the south. Zeke vowed that he would make him pay for all of this. At this moment, the professor slowly said, "Before we begin class, please take your swords and meet at the training ground." A moment later, the group arrived at the indoor training ground. Is the basic course on dragon slaying a required course for the special class? In his previous life, Zeke couldn't use ki, which caused him to spend 2 whole years learning a course that could have been completed in 3 months. At this moment, the professor slowly began to speak. "I am Andre, in charge of the special class's basic dragon slaying course." Upon hearing this, the crowd began to discuss it. "He seems to be wearing Drake's formal uniform. Could he be the Red-Eyed Knight, Andre? He wasn't a pure-blooded Awakened, but he graduated from the academy early with the highest score. He was a once-in-a-century genius and was bestowed the title of Drake by his family." Zeke, however, seemed quite surprised. The teachers in the special class were so highly skilled, he was known for being inflexible. The next second, he gestured for everyone to quiet down. At that moment, he noticed the heavy sword on Zeke's back. "What's the story behind your sword, classmate?" Upon hearing this, he immediately drew his heavy sword and swung it a few times. "As you can see, this is the sword I can use." Andre was very puzzled. "Don't you know that students should choose their swords based on their physical condition?" I was immediately filled with helplessness. I knew this sword would cause trouble. If I can defeat my teacher with this sword, does that mean there's no need for further explanation? Upon hearing this, Andre immediately unleashed a powerful aura, but it was blocked by Zeke's strong mental defense skill. At that moment, Andre slowly drew his sword. "As long as your sword touches mine, I will not pursue your unreasonable behavior this time, and it also exempts you from the basic dragon slaying course." The next second, an incomparably powerful aura instantly swept towards Zeke. Zeke only demonstrated the most basic aerodynamics, but this greatly shocked the gifted students. Even instructor Andre's right hand, which was gripping his longsword tightly, couldn't help but tremble. How could a mere student know how to use chi step? And what's with his incredible stamina? As expected, pure-blooded awakened beings are very disadvantageous to me. Just after Andre released his powerful aura, at this moment, he slowly spoke, "Don't worry, I won't use chi on the students." Upon hearing this, a smile immediately appeared on my face. I know Andre's weakness, so I should be able to defeat him, but now Abel has my eye on me, and if I attract too much attention like a cradle, it could cause serious problems. So, after touching his clothes, I'll just give up. The next second, Zeke swiftly unleashed a sword-drawing slash, but Andre blocked it instantly. Zeke was shocked to see this. He truly lived up to his title of Blue Knight. Defeating him wouldn't be an easy task. Zeke then launched a fierce offensive against him. Meanwhile, everyone watching was utterly astonished. Drake's formal knighthood was indeed extraordinary. They'd been fighting for a full 30 minutes, but Zeke hadn't even touched instructor Andre's clothes. What they didn't know was that Andre's right hand had already begun to tremble uncontrollably. He was utterly astonished. How could this guy possess such terrifying physical strength? Without using ki, I should have a hard time defeating him. As expected, pure-blooded awakened beings are very disadvantageous to me. At the same time, Zeke looked at Andre and fell into deep thought. His physical strength was still so poor, and without using his internal energy, it was even more insufficient. Drake's method of cultivating ki was notoriously strange. He used ki not only in training but also in his daily life. Just like breathing, air has become a part of people's lives. Andre was now as if he had held his breath. With his unpredictable swordsmanship, Andre will run out of stamina even faster. If things continue like this, Zeke won't be able to pretend to lose to him. Just then, Zeke suddenly thought of a plan. All he had to do was lure him into using his breath control. After all, letting him win now makes no sense. The next second, Zeke suddenly used his speed skill. At this moment, Zeke's figure could be seen constantly appearing around Andre. While Andre was still in shock, Zeke had already leaped into the air and then unleashed a skill that would kill in one hit. At this critical moment, Andre suddenly used his chi step to create distance. He then focused his energy on the sword. He then unleashed a heavy blow at Zeke. He was instantly sent flying dozens of meters away. Seeing this, Lena couldn't help but show a worried expression. "Damn, I didn't expect it to hurt this much, but now it's time to fall." The next second, Zeke suddenly collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, Andre silently sheathed his sword. "You don't need to attend my classes anymore." Then Andre asked the group, "Is there anyone else who doesn't want to attend my class?" Upon hearing this, everyone below the stage showed expressions of utter terror. Then I'll assume that everyone else participated. The scene shifts to Zeke lying in a hospital bed. Although he didn't touch Andre's clothes, Andre was ultimately forced to use his ki, which meant he had acknowledged Zeke's strength. In the end, Andre improved classroom discipline, while Zeke gained more freedom in terms of time. At that moment, he recalled Andre's final blow. That was the first chapter, the first section of the first chapter of the Dragon Slayer's Law, splitting the sky. Even Zeke hadn't expected the Blue Knight's attack to be so powerful, and the reason he was able to hold his own against the Blue Knight was entirely due to his healing abilities. abilities. However, these alone are far from enough to live a free life. To avoid being bound by others, one needs immense power, able to exert power without yielding to anyone. Just then, a figure appeared before Zeke. It looked like Arthur's youngest son. Zeke was quite shocked. Who exactly was this guy? At that moment, the red-haired man asked Zeke the question that had been bothering him. Kid, how did you do that just now? You just suffered severe internal injuries. But why was he restored in an instant? Did he sense a healing ability? Zeke quickly calmed down, knowing that no one in the academy knew about healing abilities, so he chose to continue pretending not to know. The next second, the uncle suddenly chopped at Zeke with a chop. Upon seeing this, he immediately dodged to the side. Then he threw out the white bed sheet, just as the uncle lost sight. At that moment, Zeke suddenly unleashed several skills. He then swung his greatsword and slashed fiercely at the old man, but the next second, the uncle easily blocked his attack. At this moment, the uncle slowly spoke. Your ability to adapt to changing circumstances is outstanding. Just like mercenaries, it turns out that the strongest black knight on the continent wanted to instruct the boy in swordsmanship, but he refused on the spot, because Zeke didn't want to have anything to do with him. After all, he was once the fearsome swift knight of the continent. However, this kind of legendary figure, why did he end up working as a garden manager in the academy, just after the uncle blocked Zeke's attack? At this moment, the two sides widened their distance. Zeke was very puzzled. Who was this person? Why did he say I looked like a mercenary? Did he know about my past life? Just then, the uncle slowly spoke, saying, how could someone from the Drake family drop their sword and run away? It seems you're more suited to be a mercenary than a knight. Zeke, however, stared at the older man in deep thought. This guy's strength was at least at the level of a crimson knight. At this moment, the older man asked Zeke, is that the Scottish broadsword you were given in the cradle? You're so strong. How come you're using this kind of weapon? Just as Zeke was about to respond to this, the next second, a figure suddenly appeared behind Zeke. It is indeed Andre, Mr. Dexter, the garden manager. Hearing this, Jike was quite puzzled. This guy was actually a garden manager? Just then, Andre's voice rang out again. Weren't you just in the training ground? How did you suddenly appear here? Hey student, once your injury is healed, hurry back home. Just as Zeke was about to turn and leave, the next second, the uncle's voice rang out. If you have time, come to the greenhouse on the west side of the academy. I'll teach you some good things. Jike immediately refused. His temper is exactly the same as Arthur's. Is Dexter the courtyard manager? That's definitely a fake identity. His status was so high that he could address the head of the Drake family, Arthur, by his first name. Andre's only mentor in his life, Duke Drake, known as the Swift Knight. His individual strength is comparable to that of the entire kingdom. He is one of the legendary Black Knights. His sudden disappearance caused a sensation across the entire continent. Who would have thought he'd hide here? I've heard that Duke is a very obsessed guy. Supposedly, he desperately wanted to become the Black Knight because he loves the color black. Zeke is very interested in Duke, but since he wants to teach me, I certainly won't let his special moves slip by. I want to turn his interest into an obsession. The scene shifts, and now Pennon, the magic theory lecturer, is giving a lesson. Does anyone know how to solve this situation? However, no one was willing to pay him any attention. Just then, Zeke raised his hand and slowly said, Professor, I don't quite understand the mana conversion drive you just explained. Upon hearing this, the professor immediately became interested. It was the first time a student had asked him a question. A moment later, just as everyone was preparing to leave the classroom, at that moment, the professor immediately called out to Zeke, finding it rare to encounter such a studious student. You can come to my lab to find me if you want to know anything in the future. Don't let my appearance fool you. I'm actually a student at Delphi University of Magic who has received many scholarships. Upon hearing this, Zeke was quite surprised. Although he knew Zeke was not an ordinary magician, he hadn't expected him to be a graduate of the renowned Delphi University of Magic. Without the slightest hesitation, Jike immediately agreed. After all, it wouldn't do him any harm to have a good relationship with a mage. Mages, who are good at calculations, are more open-minded and more suitable as companions than rigid knights. Pennon, let me see if he's any good. Just then, Zeke noticed something to the side. Duke was lying on the bench. He was very curious as to why Zeke hadn't gone to the greenhouse to look for him. I think I promised to teach you something good. Zeke had no interest in that. Didn't I already refuse? At this moment, Zeke slowly spoke. I know your strength is outstanding, but I've been busy training and haven't had time. At the same time, Duke instantly appeared behind Zeke. Jike hadn't even reacted yet. He knocked her unconscious on the spot with a single blow. He only realized it when he came to his senses. I have arrived at the greenhouse on the west side of the academy. Did you kidnap me? Duke responded, yes, I did kidnap you here. Kid, I'm very interested in you. Is he even blurting out his inner thoughts now? He seems a little anxious. Just as Zeke was preparing to use his speed to escape, the next second, Duke had already slipped behind him. As he slowly raised his left hand, Zeke was instantly forced to stop. This guy was still playing me. Jike was quite puzzled. What exactly had it about me that piqued your interest? How did your internal injuries heal so quickly back then? It seems he cares about this a lot. Since you're so curious, why not try it yourself? Upon hearing this, Duke immediately vanished from the spot, just as Zeke looked puzzled. The next second, Zeke's greatsword struck straight at him. Upon seeing this, Jike immediately dodged to the side. Then you turned around and took it. What do you mean by that? At this moment, Duke slowly spoke up. Didn't you say you'd let me give it a try? But that's far too easy. How about you make a bet with me? If you touch my sleeve with your sword, I will grant you one wish. But if you choose to give up, you must tell me all the secrets. Zeke only displayed the most basic aura, but this startled the strongest Black Knight on the continent, sending a chill down his spine. It seems he's been attacking in the same way all along, but in reality, he was looking for an opportunity to use the dragon's majesty, and at the same time deliver a fatal blow. Let's consider this duel a draw, kid. Just after Duke made his demands, 3 hours have passed by now. Duke was quite shocked. What was going on with this person? He is not only tough and capable of fighting, but also has abundant stamina. Moreover, it can endlessly repair injuries. Could it be that this guy? Just then, Zeke used his healing ability to heal himself. Although he could keep going all day, he definitely wouldn't win this bet. The Dragon's Majesty, this skill was never used because it was too dangerous. But if the opponent is the Black Knight, there shouldn't be any problems, right? The next second, Zeke suddenly unleashed a powerful burst of energy. Duke was quite surprised to see this. The kid's eyes sharpened considerably. Is this the correct way? At this moment, Zeke slowly gathered his energy. The next second, Zeke used his speed to unleash a quick draw slash. This kid only knows how to repeat the same attacks. He's quite ordinary compared to that incredibly fast guy in the Thun family's daughter, but the fierce look in his eyes is really endearing. Just as he hesitated whether to use his aura slightly, suddenly, Zeke unleashed the power of the dragon, and Duke broke out in a cold sweat. He then shattered Zeke's greatsword with a single punch. He was very confused about what had just happened. Just then, Jike kicked up a cloud of dust. Just as Duke was searching everywhere for Zeke's whereabouts, he had already moved behind Duke at this moment. With the activation of Longan, Zeke swiftly swung his sword at Duke, but the next second, the slash passed right through Duke's body. Immediately afterwards, Duke transformed into a gust of wind and disappeared from the spot. Seeing this, Zeke was utterly shocked. Could this be Duke's secret weapon? He created a gust of wind by using ordinary speed, which is why he was called the Swift Wind Knight. At the same time, Duke suddenly appeared behind him. Let's consider this match a draw. The next second, Duke suddenly threw a heavy punch, sending Zeke flying dozens of meters away. A notification window popped up. Your fatigue level has exceeded the allowed limit due to excessive skill use. Like master, like apprentice indeed. Then, due to extreme exhaustion, Zeke slowly closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself back in his dormitory. It seems Duke brought me here. Damn, I almost succeeded. Truly worthy of being called the Black Knight. I did everything I could, but I had absolutely no chance against him. Using the same attacks hundreds of times to lure Duke into a false sense of security, then creating an opportunity with the Dragon's Majesty at the decisive moment. They even used the Dragon Eye to deliver a fatal blow, but that was far from enough. The technique Duke used at the end was definitely his signature move. Although Zeke passed out due to overuse of his dragon abilities, he was fortunate enough to have access to the ultimate move. Utilizing a body trained to its limits, that superhuman speed of movement, the physically weak Andre was able to become the Crimson Knight thanks to this special move. Although I missed the chance to learn a secret technique, I still gained a lot. The Dragon's Majesty possesses an aura so powerful it can even halt a Black Knight. This skill, when used on lower level opponents, would instantly subdue them. Just then, a notification popped up in the window. You have received an unconfirmed text message. Then numerous notification windows popped up, indicating that Quick Step had been upgraded to C-level high-speed movement. Due to the user's strong will and soul growth, the user could use the achievement to unlock the next skill. Next up are various items such as the minimap, inventory, and beginner quest book waiting to be unlocked. Looking at everything before him, Jike felt completely overwhelmed. So he was the first to unlock the inventory function. You can put specific items into your inventory, and the items you want will appear in your hand when you want them. This means I can now store the equipment I want. He then mentally placed the short sword in his inventory. The great sword appeared in my inventory the next second. The number of squares they occupy varies depending on their size and weight, and when Zeke wants to take out the greatsword, it will appear in his hand. I didn't expect this to be even better than the space box. Furthermore, the inventory can be further expanded through achievements. Such a powerful feature, yet it's only a skill for lower level managers. What if you upgrade to a higher level? It seems achievement points shouldn't be used recklessly, so it's time to revise the plan. A moment later, Decker found Zeke. He said that the garden manager, Duke, had a letter to give to Geek. The letter stated that you can try again anytime if you wish. Looks like I haven't failed yet. In other words, I still have a chance. Just then, Decker slowly spoke up. Young master, I have some news to tell you. I found the blacksmith you mentioned last last time. However, a problem arose. The blacksmith refused to make appointments. He said I would no longer manufacture weapons. Zeke touched the iron sword. This greatly shocked the top blacksmiths on the mainland, because he clearly stated that these weapons were made from a mixture of various metals, but its hardness is just too low. There is only one reason for this problem. That is, during the heat treatment process, excess impurities were not removed. Just after Zeke learned of Jillian's location, he arrived at Fabna's blacksmith shop by carriage. In his past life, Zeke saved Jillian's life, so Jillian forged a masterpiece for Zeke, the Shining Sword. Just like his nickname, the Soul Blacksmith, this is a weapon forged by seeing through the user's soul. The sword he created possessed Zeke's most needed exclusive ability, the power to convert ether into air. But why would the most skilled blacksmith on the mainland look like this? Although he sometimes does this, it's never this serious. What happened to him before he met me? Then Zeke picked up a bucket of cold water and poured it on his face. You should be much more sober now, right? I want to know why you refused my request. Just then, he noticed Zeke's gloves. They were actually from the Drake family. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately apologized to Jik, saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I can't take on any commissions right now, and I can't make what I want, so how can I make what other people want? Seeing this, Zeke was very puzzled. Did Jillian really have such a period? However, when Zeke first met him, he was already the best blacksmith on the entire continent, and he never seemed to mention his past. But Jike can't wait 10 years right now. Then Zeke asked him, may I see your failed attempts? There was no other way but to show him the way. A moment later, Zeke, led by Gerald, arrived at the back courtyard. Zeke noticed that the weapons here were all exquisitely crafted, like works of art. Zeke then examined the weapons one by one. These are not failures at all. They are just as excellent as the ones he will create when he becomes the continent's top blacksmith. Immediately afterwards, Zeke used the Dragon Eye observation weapon. So, the problem really is with the stove? You must have used your own unique forging method, right? Mixing various metals to create a lighter material, but its hardness is just too low. There is only one reason for this problem. Excess impurities were not removed during the heat treatment process. Upon hearing this, Galleon was greatly shocked. He was absolutely right. He not only discerned the flaws in my forging method but also pointed out its fatal weakness and the reason behind it. If it were him, maybe he could help me. At this moment, Galleon slowly spoke up. I have a good suggestion. Could you take a look at this? The next second, Galleon opened his design blueprints. Zeke knew perfectly well that this was the secret to Galleon's success 10 years later. The design blueprints for the magic furnace. Able to freely control the temperature of the furnace using magic. This design is indeed perfect for you. But since you designed the blueprints, why didn't you build the furnace? At this moment, Galleon slowly explained, because I haven't designed the most important motor yet. Designing the magic tower would require at least 10,000 gold coins. Keep in mind that an average family's monthly living expenses are only 10 gold coins, and it actually took him 10 years to accumulate that amount? At this moment, Galleon slowly said, you are Drake's pure-blooded awakened one. If you can help me complete this furnace, I'm willing to unconditionally manufacture weapons for you for the rest of my life. Upon hearing this, he immediately fell into deep thought. Although he was a pure-blooded awakener, 10,000 gold coins were still too much for him. It would be a different story if he had the support of a family. Just then, Zeke suddenly remembered something. Isn't it just a mana-driven type? I accept this proposal. I will entrust this to a magician I know, and I will let you know as soon as I have the results. One last thing, please stop drinking. After saying that, Zeke turned and left. The scene shifts to Zeke's research lab at Drake Academy. Judging from its structure, it should be quite simple. Why would the guys from the Magic Tower ask for such a high price? Fortunately, Pennon's specialty is mana magic driven. Just then, a noise from the side caught his attention. This alley. I remember it was a place where I was often bullied in my past life. At this moment, Raven was seen unleashing a furious rage. What unprecedented golden reaction. What a super awakened being surpassing purebloods. Stop joking. There was nothing I could do about losing to Zeke. After all, he ambushed me before the fight even started. Although I did lose, why would that inferior factor be a pure-blooded awakener? Just then, Zeke's voice rang out from behind him. Raven, I didn't expect you to find a replacement for me so quickly. You have 3 seconds. Obediently kowtow to the ground. Zeke only displayed the most basic killing intent. This startled everyone present, causing them to fall to the ground. Even the noble genius Raven was so scared that he wet his pants. Since you drew your sword against me, then you must be prepared to die, right? Right after Zeke made those harsh words. At this moment, Raven was very curious. Don't think that just because you've awakened pure blood, you can be so arrogant. Besides, you really are a pure blood awakener. Upon hearing this, Jike immediately unleashed his killing intent, shouting, shut your mouth. While I'm speaking properly, kowtow to the ground. The next second, Raven was terrified by the killing intent and broke out in a cold sweat. Damn it, that guy I trampled under my feet just a few months ago. I actually felt scared. Just then, Raven gestured to the group. What are you all standing there for? Come at me. Seeing this, Jike was speechless. I clearly gave you all a chance. The next second, Zeke dodged the enemy's right punch by sidestepping. He then followed up with a heavy punch aimed at the enemy's face. He was knocked to the ground on the spot. At the same time, facing the siege of the crowd, Zeke was able to handle it all with ease. In no time at all, Zeke had knocked everyone to the ground. Seeing this, Raven was shocked. How could this be? Is this still the Zeke I know? At this moment, Zeke slowly said, "Don't be afraid, the pain will only last for a moment." Upon hearing this, Raven immediately drew his sword. "If you dare come near me, I will definitely kill you." Zeke's expression tightened, and he drew his sword outside the training ground. Do you know what that means? Raven Quinrat drew his sword, revealing his killing intent. Outside the training ground, I, Zeke Drake, will also respond with killing intent. This battle will be decided by blood, according to tradition. All responsibility rests with the individual, and both sides swear an oath that they will not hold the other responsible after the battle. Liam Stone, you are the witness to this battle. Upon hearing this, Lei-Wen immediately knelt down on the ground. He then cried and begged Zeke to release him, pleading, "Please spare my life." This reminded Zeke of a scene from his past life. What a ridiculous guy. The next second, Zeke chopped off Raven's ear with a single strike. Use your ears in exchange for your life. At this moment, Zeke spoke again, saying, "If I see you again next time, your ears have recovered. So next time, it won't be your ears that get chopped off, but your head." After saying that, Zeke turned and left. Just then, Liam called out to him, "Lord Zeke, why did you save me?" "Don't worry about it, I wasn't trying to save you. I saved myself." The scene shifts, and Zeke finds Professor Pennon. In conclusion, this is feasible, but let me say a few words before we do. As you said, the structure is very simple, but the problem lies in the furnace core, which is responsible for the output and can be considered the heart of the drive system. This stove requires very specific conditions. Although small, it needs a very strong flame, and the heating time must be precisely controlled. This design is unprecedented. Zeke was puzzled, but thought, this should be doable, right? Of course, there are currently two methods. One is to design my own drive system considering the conditions of the furnace core, but calculating the furnace core alone would take more than 15 years. Jike was shocked to hear this. It would take 15 years. The second approach is to avoid designing the furnace core directly and instead use other materials, which can significantly shorten the time required. The problem is that the material is highly compressed mana stone. Upon hearing this, Jike was immediately shocked. What a joke! Those were ancient relics that couldn't be manufactured using modern technology. Indeed, this relic is quite rare in the ruins. If it is mana stone capable of supporting a furnace, it should be worth at least 3,000 gold coins. Damn, 15 years is way too long. If people find out I can't use chi, I'll be expelled from the academy. But 3,000 gold coins are too much for me, and I can't give up the radiant sword. The reactions I exhibited on the day of the blessing ceremony led everyone to believe that I could use ki, but in reality, it was through ether and healing. Ether is a power that humans cannot control. Apart from the protective aura my master taught me, let alone dragon slaying techniques, I am completely unable to use swordsmanship that requires aura. At most, I can only strengthen my body and wield a sword. Furthermore, air is more versatile and easier to control than ether, so I need the radiant sword. But where can I find compressed mana stones? Just then, Pennon said slowly, the guy who designed this blueprint is really something. Considering the complex furnace core, this design is highly efficient, which is rare even among Golden Age sites. The ruins of the Golden Age? Yes, why didn't I think of that? Professor, please design the drive system before I return. The professor was quite surprised upon hearing this. You don't really want me to spend 15 years on this design, do you? Stop joking. I will go and bring back the high compression mana stone. Jike had a room full of gold but didn't want it. He turned around and picked up the broken box filled with stones, because only he knew that this was the legendary high compression mana stone. One pill can meet the mana consumption needs of an entire village. This is also the most important material for creating the magic furnace. Just after Jike decided to bring back the highly compressed mana stone, he arrived at the central library of Drake College. The Golden Age began after Drakengard slew the dragon Bahamut. Humanity enjoys a century of peace. The ancient artifacts unearthed from the dragon's lair were items from the Hero King era, the Golden Age of top-tier magic, far surpassing modern technology and magical levels. The highly compressed mana stone, capable of sustaining the horse consumption of an entire village, is also a relic from the era of the Hero King. The central library, designed by Drake himself, was rarely used but was consistently maintained. During one of its expansions, they stumbled upon relics from the Golden Age. Not only the magic tower, but also the mages of Navana, one of the three transcendent families, participated in the excavation. After several months of digging, they discovered many relics from the Golden Age. This caused a huge sensation at the time, but that was 10 years later. The scene shifts, and Z quickly arrives at the central library. At that moment, he decisively used the Dragon Eye skill. The next second he noticed something strange in the library. Sure enough, it was empty. Zeke then condensed the ether in his hand and unleashed switched to Soul God technique, a skill his master had taught him to use the ether. By channeling willpower into the ether, one gains the ability to cut, which can be applied in various ways. However, a side effect is that it consumes a large amount of ether. As Zeke uses his skills, he quickly entered the underground space of the library. A moment later, Zeke, holding a torch, walked deeper into the secret passage. Just then, a noise from the side caught his attention. It's a skeleton? Judging from their weapons, they were not made by mages. Since that's the case, let's get rid of them quickly. In no time at all, Zeke had wiped out the 2 skeletons. Just then, a notification popped up in the window ahead. Killing 2 skeletons will earn you 2 achievement points. He suddenly remembered that killing monsters could also earn achievement points. This is a great opportunity to earn a lot of points. The scene shifts, and Zeke kills 20 skeletons in one go. He now has 40 achievement points, so he decisively unlocked the mini-map function. The entire map appeared before his eyes in the next second. This looks like a magic map. He then noticed a conversion device nearby, able to convert 2D maps into 3D maps. Seeing this, Jike was very excited. This function was simply amazing. But why is this room red? Just then, a window notification popped up ahead, asking if you wanted to be directed to the Dragon Slayer's tomb preservation site. Of course, I didn't expect to find my destination so easily. As soon as he pressed the confirm button, the fastest route to his destination appeared before his eyes in the next second. This is fantastic. With this, I don't have to worry about getting lost. A moment later, Jik arrived at the entrance to his destination, just as he was about to push it away. But it was instantly repelled by a magical force. It's actually a defensive spell. It seems this is the reason why members of the Magic Tower were mobilized. If it weren't for these gloves, Zeke's hands would probably be gone by now. Damn it, I can't open this door. Could the system open it for me? The next second, the system seemed to hear Zeke's request, and then it removed the defensive magic from Zeke. Seeing this, Jik was utterly shocked. You can understand me now. Of course, do you have any other requirements? Manager Dick Derrick. It's actually possible to have a conversation with the system? He was very curious as to why I was able to go back in time. The system refused to answer the question the next second. Zeke then asked a series of questions, but the response was still a refusal. Damn it, they won't tell me any of the important questions. Then please open the door for me, okay? Then the door slowly opened. At that moment, countless enormous treasure chests came into Zeke's view. Could these all be treasure chests? The treasure chest, as the name suggests, was filled with many precious relics and treasures. Discovering just one of them could bring you a huge fortune. I never expected there to be hundreds of treasure chests here. In no time at all, Zeke had all the treasure chests in his possession. Has it finally appeared? High compression mana stone. And there were actually 4 of them. One achievement can expand your inventory by 4 slots, and although it currently adds more than 40 slots, this is far from enough. Looks like I need to finish moving everything here before graduation. Just as Zeke was about to leave, an unsettling aura suddenly enveloped him. The next second, a magical barrier surrounded him completely. He hadn't even reacted yet. They were magically transported to an unknown place. Zeke simply touched the glass, but it scared me so much I broke out in a cold sweat. Draking Drake is absolutely insane. He actually preserved the heart of the mad dragon Bahamut, and he regarded it as his own keepsake. Just after Zeke was teleported by magic, he found himself in an unfamiliar place. He was very curious. System, where exactly is this place? Manager, you are now in the resting place of the Dragon Slayer. Jike was very puzzled by this, but the news from the future did not mention this place filled with stone coffins. Then Jike opened the mini-map to take a look. As expected, this place is not far from the relocation site, so it must be a hidden location that was never discovered in my previous life. As Jike slowly opened the stone coffin, the next second, a suit of armor suddenly appeared before his eyes. A notification popped up at the window ahead. Someone had discovered the Dragon Slayer's exclusive equipment. Indeed, this is completely different from the armor of the Golden Age. And this small hole seems large enough to fit something. At that moment, Jike suddenly remembered that the size of the cave seemed very similar to that of the Mana Stone. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately inserted the Mana Stone into the Dragon Slayer's exclusive equipment. But the equipment started shaking violently the next second. An explosion then occurred due to the defect and overload. Jike was instantly blasted into a humiliating state. He was very curious, was the highly compressed Mana Stone the power source of the armor? What kind of function does it have that requires so much energy? Forget it, I'll ask Pennon about these questions later. A moment later, Zeke arrived at the last room. What's going on? Is there only one glass coffin in such a big room? A window notification appeared in front of me the next second. This terrified Zeke on the spot. Drakendake was truly insane. The legacy of Drakendrek, the heart of the cursed dragon Bahamut, has been discovered. This guy actually kept the heart of the dragon he killed as an inheritance. So, was the ominous aura I sensed earlier also this thing? But it seems a little different. Just then, the heart suddenly reacted to the manager, Zeke. The next second, many voices suddenly appeared in Zeke's mind. Listen up, I will kill you all, Zeke said, and immediately resisted with unwavering willpower. What does this mean? Why did I do this? Only then did he notice a black aura steadily eroding him. What exactly is this? Then, a black aura completely surrounded Zeke. Immediately following, an urgent mission appears. Drakensnark's experiment defeats the powerful curse on Bahamut's heart, and the reward is ownership of Drakensnark's legacy. The next second, Zeke's strong will to resist failed. Then it was instantly eroded by the black aura. Then Zeke lost control of his body. Stop complaining, it's so noisy. You said you'd give me freedom? Freedom is something you have to fight for. With the glass shattering, Zeke has now overcome the curse of the Mad Dragon, successfully completed the emergency mission, and you have gained ownership of the Draken legacy. Just then, Zeke let out a long sigh of relief. That was truly dangerous, he hadn't expected his skill to fail. Just then, a notification sounded in the window ahead, informing us that the absorption of the cursed dragon Bahamut's heart had begun. Then the heart emitted a dazzling light. In an instant, extremely pure mana entered Zeke's body. However, his body lacks an aura capable of absorbing mana, resulting in a large amount of mana with nowhere to go, damaging his body. Damn it, I have to think of something. Then Jike used the soul body technique to seal. This involves enveloping mana in ether and then sealing mana within an etheric hull. A loud bang was heard. At this moment, Zeke had already completed the sealing of mana. Did they finally survive? The heart also disappeared at the same time. That mana was indeed Bahamut's. Just then, he noticed a dragon mark on his chest. Did this appear when mana was sealed? At that moment, countless notification windows appeared before his eyes. The absorbed mana altered the administrator's physical body, transforming their constitution into a celestial bone body. A power the administrator could not withstand was discovered, and the sealed power was compressed to 95%. You have gained the qualification of an inheritor, can access Draken's secret book, unlock the beginner's quest book, and provide tutorials for lower-level administrators. Seeing this, Jike was quite puzzled. What were these things? Never mind, he'd investigate them later. Just then, Zeke suddenly noticed something. Should another legacy left by Draking be opened? Upon seeing this, Jike immediately grinned mischievously, never expecting his ancestor to be so generous. Zeke only brought out the simplest materials. This greatly shocked the top blacksmiths on the mainland, because these are the legendary dragon's fangs, the most powerful fangs of the cursed dragon Bahamut. This is the first time I've ever seen materials preserved so perfectly. Where did you find it? Just after Zeke started another Draken legacy. The next second, the inheritance appeared right in front of him. Could this be? The scene shifts, and Zeke is seen tidying up the inheritance he brought back in his dormitory. He was currently checking his status window. As you can see, many new features have been added, including the word magic, which requires you to become stronger immediately to unlock. Omnipotent dragon domination, can control dragons, summon and command them, possesses a celestial bone body, enabling optimal physical abilities, enhanced martial arts speed, increased etheric conductivity. But even with these explanations, Zeke was still very puzzled. He also remembered that many pop-up windows related to Draken appeared at the time. He then gestured to the system to open all notifications related to Draken. The next second, a notification popped up, indicating that the system needed to update information while browsing Draken's secret library. Please move to a location where information can be updated. The location was then marked on the minimap. Zeke was utterly shocked to see this. It was actually Valhalla. Valhalla is the training ground for top-tier knights, and no one except those directly involved can enter. Even Zeke couldn't sneak in there, and he had no intention of entering Valhalla. However, if Draken's legacy is also there, then the plans will need to be changed. It seems I'll have to stay in this damned family forever. Zeke then checked the basic mission. A notification window is now popping up, initiating a tutorial for lower-level managers. After the tutorial concludes, tasks will be assigned to support manager development. You will receive rewards upon successful completion of the tasks. The system immediately started a tutorial for Zeke. In less than a moment, Zeke was teleported to another dimension. What kind of place is this? Could it be that I was teleported away again like last time? No, this time it seems like the entire space has changed. Just then, 3 enormous orcs appeared around Zeke. New player quest, kill monsters using 2 or more skills within 1 hour. Rewards include achievement points and unlocking the shop. Tasks tailored for beginners. I never expected that they would actually draw such a magnificent scene. The next second, Zeke dodged the monster's attack with a quick teleportation, then used high-speed movement and continuous attack skills. As a figure flashed by, all the surrounding monsters powers were instantly wiped out. At this moment, he could feel the greatsword in his hand was incredibly light. Could this be the effect of the ancient body? This level of power could easily defeat the Purple Knight. A moment later, Zeke was teleported back to the training ground. Was that all an illusion? Why did it feel so real? At the same time, a notification window appears ahead. You have received an extra key reward. You have received an extra time bonus, and as a mission reward, you have received 40 points. The shop is also now open. Jake was very surprised to see this, as it meant he could buy things in the store. Moreover, these are all rare items. Zeke then tried selling equipment. However, I was notified that the greatsword for practice could not be sold, while the elven shortsword was priced at 4 points. It seems this place can only sell ancient artifacts. If you're not in a hurry to use your points, then there's no need to sell them. The scene shifts, and the next day Zeke finds Professor Pennon, who is very surprised. How did you find this thing? It's a long story, but compared to when this driver will be completed, I've already completed the driver. He was immediately surprised upon hearing this. You finished so quickly. You're amazing. But it's nothing. It's Jike who brought the Mana Stone who's the most impressive. It seems he has some doubts about me. Each discovery of Mana Stone is recorded using various ancient scripts to manage the ownership of this valuable stone. Consecutive serial numbers can confirm the excavation period, location, and owner. However, the Mana Stones that Jike brought were not in the register. At this moment, Zeke slowly spoke to Pennon. You should have already confirmed that there are no problems, so may we set off? A moment later, the two arrived at the blacksmith shop, with the operation of the furnace core. At this moment, the magic furnace successfully began to operate. The professor then left, citing the need to start a new class. Galleon was overjoyed. He never imagined he would actually complete the magic of fire in his lifetime. Just then, Zeke took an item out of his bag. Use this to make me a sword. Upon seeing this, Galleon showed an expression of utter shock. Isn't that a dragon's fang? The strongest fang of the cursed dragon Bahamut. Where did you find something so well preserved? That's right, Drakensberg's second legacy is this. At this moment, Galleon spoke with a slight tremor. You not only built me a furnace, but also gave me the opportunity to refine dragon teeth. I will definitely not let you down. This scene inevitably reminded Zeke of a scene from his past life. This guy is still the same as always, so I'm counting on you. I wonder what conclusion will be drawn. I am really looking forward to it. The Empire's strongest Black Knight wanted to take Zeke's pulse, but he refused on the spot. It even gave me a fright. Whether fighting in the treatment room, when the bet was made in the greenhouse, even when you ran 500 laps around the training ground just now, I couldn't sense any energy from you. Can't you use air? Just after Zeke completed the sword-making commission, he returned to his private dormitory. Then he suddenly remembered that after my bet with Duke ended, it's been a week since he sent me that letter urging me to challenge him again. He should be getting a response by now. Just then, Zeke suddenly realized something. Then a voice rang out from behind. Kid, why didn't you come looking for me this time? You'd better tell me the truth. Zeke was speechless. Didn't you say I could come find you if I wanted to try again? Since I didn't have any intention of trying, I didn't go. The next second, Duke teleported in front of Zeke. I told you to tell me the truth. Jike hadn't even reacted yet. Duke threw him out. By the time he came to his senses, he had already been thrown out of the window. Upon seeing this, Jike was immediately terrified, breaking out in a cold sweat. At that height, if he didn't receive timely treatment, he would die instantly. Then Jike reached out and grabbed at the railing, but the next second Duke had already grabbed his neck. Don't you want to try again? Don't be ridiculous. I knew it all along. You know what I mean, but you keep delaying, both last time and this time, as if you're deliberately trying to provoke me. Upon hearing this, Jike was shocked. Damn it, did this guy already know I was playing him? I'll give you 5 seconds to tell the truth. At that moment, Zeke revealed a smile. You haven't even told me your true identity, have you? Mr. Dexter, the garden manager. The next second, Duke threw Zeke back into the room. Kid, you're right. I was once Drake's Black Knight. Duke Drake. Upon seeing this, Jike immediately expressed his apologies, admitting that he, as a junior, had offended the elders of the family. Please forgive me. You've been waiting for me to tell the truth all along. Zeke was very curious. Lord Duke, what do you mean by saying you used to be the Black Knight? It doesn't mean anything else. It just means you used to be black and now you're red. I was immediately surprised to hear this, because I remembered that knight ranks could only go up and not down. At this moment, Duke slowly said, let's not talk about this now. Of course, I will tell the truth next. I recognized you from the very beginning, and all I wanted was to become your formal apprentice. Duke smiled slightly. You've got guts, kid. Alright then, I'll accept you as my apprentice. Jike was very surprised to hear this. It was so easy to succeed? Then Zeke recited the oath of apprenticeship to Duke. At the same time, Zeke asked Duke the question that had been bothering him. What did you see in me that made you take me on as your apprentice? After all, Duke is known for not taking on apprentices. The genius of the century, Andre, also pestered him for several years before finally becoming his only disciple. However, Zeke could probably guess the reason: the potential I discovered when I made a bet with Duke made Duke realize that I had talent surpassing Andre's. At this moment, Duke slowly said, "Why don't you guess why? Is it because I'm very talented? Don't joke around. If that were the case, I would have taken the Thun family's daughter as my apprentice long ago. I like your fierce personality. Even geniuses don't all reach the Crimson Black realm. Because their upbringing has been too smooth, they are prone to collapse when faced with even the slightest setback." He was right. Most of the geniuses who can reach the Crimson Knight level will forever remain at the purple level. Just then, Duke slowly said to Zeke, "Now I'll give you your first lesson." The scene shifts to Duke leading Zeke to the training ground beneath the greenhouse. Jike was very curious as to why his coach kept making him run, even though he had already been running for 3 hours. At that moment, Duke called a halt to Geek's actions. "I have a question for you." "Of course, what question do you want to ask, Master?" The next second, Duke casually appeared behind Zeke, and it wasn't anything else. Then he grabbed his right hand. Upon seeing this, Jike immediately struggled to shake him off. Then they quickly distanced themselves from him. Duke was very puzzled by this. "You don't want me to take your pulse?" Upon hearing this, Jike immediately broke out in a cold sweat. "I found it strange from the beginning, when we fought in the treatment room, when you made the bet in the greenhouse, and just now when you ran 500 laps around the training ground. I didn't sense any energy from you, and you wouldn't even let me take your pulse. Can't you use air?" Zeke imitated the simplest sprint, but it startled the Empire's strongest Black Knight. He learned it after only watching it once? This is simply a genius of all time. Just after Duke discovered that Zeke could not use air, he was very curious at that moment. Hadn't the bronze statue reacted back then? Moreover, an unprecedented golden light appeared. "If that's the case, why won't you let me take your pulse?" Upon hearing this, Jake quickly realized that this guy wasn't suspicious, but simply curious. Drake's inability to use his ki was a serious matter, but he prioritized his curiosity. Thankfully it was Duke. It would have been terrible if someone had discovered I couldn't use chi before I got the Radiant Sword. Unlike his previous life, he didn't need to lie to Duke. Zeke then slowly removed his gloves. "Although I possess the pure blood symbol of mana, I don't know why I can't use chi. If someone discovers that Drake can't breathe, I'm sure I'll be kicked out." At that moment, Duke used his chi to take his pulse. Although the child showed signs that were beyond his years, he was still, after all, a child. But why couldn't he sense the chi even though he had already awakened? Upon seeing this, Duke immediately fell into deep thought, but Jike realized that even after taking his pulse, he still wasn't sure. After all, the blessing ceremony was absolutely essential for Drake. Even if he truly didn't awaken any aura, he would find another excuse to deny the truth. At this moment, Duke slowly said to Zeke, "Could it be that you are Ireguile? Is it Ile Gue Lo?" Sure enough, that's what people who don't understand the concept of a profession would think. Ireguile refers to a person with special abilities who can use both air and mana simultaneously. He possesses extraordinary abilities that allow him to foresee the future, but people don't have a good impression of Iregue. Zeke was puzzled as to why Zeke thought he was Ireguile, because Zeke possessed abnormal physical strength and regenerative abilities. Even minor internal injuries take time to heal, but you recovered instantly. "I know that must have consumed a lot of energy, but do you know what that energy is? It's chi, and all the chi produced is used up in physical strength in the body. It's used up the instant it's generated, so you can't feel any chi in your body." This explanation seems quite plausible. If I can't use my inner energy for the rest of my life, wouldn't I be unable to learn my master's special techniques? Upon hearing this, Duke immediately smiled. "Don't worry, Gale Technique is a special combat technique that doesn't use ki. These are special skills created by knights who have reached a certain level, based on their own characteristics. The common ones are like the Bio-Dragon Slaying Technique, but that requires the use of magical artifacts. My Gale Technique only requires physical training. Now, just watch closely as I demonstrate." With Duke suddenly exerting its strength, the next second, countless footsteps appeared around Jik. Duke reappeared before him in no time. "Did you see clearly? Of course, all I need to do is follow your steps, right? That's right, then give it a try." At this moment, Zeke took a deep breath. The next second, he quickly moved his body following the footprints left by Duke. Now he can see things he couldn't see before by imitating them. It's like sparring with someone. Every step has a very clear purpose: to attack, to dodge, to create or close the distance. Every step serves a purpose. In no time at all, Zeke displayed his windwalk technique before Duke's eyes. His talent wasn't this great a week ago. What exactly happened to him this week? Duke was utterly astonished. This was truly a once-in-a-lifetime genius. Zeke grinned wickedly. "This level should put me on par with the Black Knight, right? You're really arrogant, kid." The scene shifts, and Zeke is wolfing down his food in the canteen. Just then, Andre found Zeke. He was very curious. "How exactly did you convince Mr. Dexter? Could you get straight to the point?" Geek knew that Andre hadn't become Duke's apprentice yet, so he must have been anxious when he saw me become his apprentice. "I didn't convince him. Instead, Mr. Dexter chose me. So, in the end it was all because of purebloods?" Upon hearing this, Jike put down his cutlery. "You're being way too insecure. Do you think Mr. Dexter would be interested in me because I'm a pure blood? I became his apprentice through my own abilities. Use your time to express your inferiority complex to fill your self-esteem. Why not work your hardest to make him choose you? The scene shifts, and now Andre is running in the greenhouse training ground. Jike was very puzzled. What exactly was going on with his master? I was about to ask you the same thing. He suddenly asked me to take him in, saying he'd be willing to be his servant. So I told him I'd accept him if he could run 300 laps without using any air. I never expected him to actually start running. This guy's a real idiot. Hearing this, Jike smiled. I thought he was just an arrogant bookworm. I didn't expect this guy to have his own backbone. The Drake family only displayed the most basic aura, but this gave Zeke a real fright. This is the pinnacle of key manipulation that only the Black Knight can achieve. Moreover, he's simply not in the same league as Duke. This guy is the real Black Knight. Shortly after Andre's apprenticeship ceremony, at this moment, the head of the Drake family arrived at the academy for a visit. Upon seeing this, the principal immediately extended a warm welcome. The next second, the patriarch slowly spoke, saying, "Hayward, it's been a long time," paying respects to Drake's master. Then, only the voices of the crowd rose, paying homage to Drake's master. At that moment, the patriarch reached out and patted the headmaster, saying, "You've worked hard. How can my hard work compare to the patriarch's?" As expected, only you truly understand me. Arthur Drake, head of the Drake family, one of the 3 transcendent families and the Dragon Slayers. Arthur then effortlessly reached the highest point of the academy. Young Dragon Slayers, you are Drake's hope and future. Keep practicing hard. Your development is Drake's development. Upon hearing this, everyone present knelt down on the ground. We will remember the words of the head of the Drake family. A moment later, Zeke was invited into Arthur's room, where he was seen bowing to the head of the family. "No need to be so polite. Please sit down. I heard you like tea, so I brought some good tea hoping it will suit your taste." Jike was shocked to hear this. The head of the family actually knew what I liked to eat. Could he be implying that Drake knows everything, even things the Emperor might not? At this moment, Arthur slowly spoke. "I called you here for no other reason than to say that I was quite surprised to hear that Duke recently took on a disciple. Although I don't know what your goals are, as long as you study hard with Duke, you will definitely become the strongest on the mainland." At this moment, Zeke slowly revealed his goal. "I want to become stronger than anyone else, and I want to live more freely than anyone else. That is my goal." The next second, Arthur suddenly unleashed a powerful aura. "It seems I'm also someone you want to surpass." By this time, Zeke was already drenched in a cold sweat. Because this is the Astra Sword, which holds the power of life and death within a certain range, it represents the pinnacle of key manipulation that only the Black Knight can achieve. Without the slightest hesitation, Jike immediately stated that this was inevitable. Upon hearing this, Arthur immediately untied the astronaut. "This guy is a true Black Knight. He's on a completely different level from Duke. I just came to the college to check things out and offer some encouragement, but it seems that encouragement alone isn't enough." As he spoke, Arthur handed Zeke a card. "Congratulations on becoming Duke's apprentice." Upon seeing this, Jike immediately showed immense shock. This is actually a black card, a commemorative card issued only to a very small number of VIPs. Having this card grants maximum discounts and unlimited spending. You can use this card as you like. Jike immediately expressed his gratitude, saying he would use it where needed. Zeke knew perfectly well that his intentions were obvious. Using the card would leave a record, allowing Zeke to track my movements. However, he hasn't used the black stage yet, which means he doesn't take me seriously. Arthur then gestured to Zeke that he could leave first. "I understand, Master." A moment later, Zeke slowly left Arthur's room. At the same time, Duke slipped into Arthur's room. "You're really annoying. You left Jike in the cradle, and now you're pretending to be a loving and caring father." But Arthur slowly explained, "You know, I sit in the position of the head of the family. There's nothing I can do about it. It seems like you're the only person I can chat with so casually." The host pulled a bottle of wine from his pocket. "Why don't we drink and chat?" he suggested. "You should know that the situation on the mainland has been a bit strange lately, even though you're in the academy." Upon hearing this, Duke immediately said, "How would I know those things?" Arthur replied, "Aren't your eyes and ears still alive on the continent? You know perfectly well why you're asking me this. An emperor obsessed with immortality searched the entire continent. Do you think that's possible?" Duke was astonished upon hearing this. "What nonsense are you spouting? You can use magic to slow down aging, but immortality is absolutely impossible." Arthur also agreed with this view. But what if that scene was related to an ancient dragon? Upon hearing this, Duke immediately showed an expression of utter shock. Meanwhile, Zeke was eavesdropping in the next room, and what he used was the soul body technique. If it's related to ancient dragon relics, then that's certainly possible. However, Duke was very puzzled. "Could it be that you have already found the location of that thing?" "I guess so. Judging from the Black Warrior's report, the relics of the ancient dragon should be on the North Continent." "You mean the Emperor doesn't know about this yet?" "Of course, but he'll find out sooner or later. It's just a matter of time." Duke recalled how that emperor, after ascending the throne, had declared his intention to unify the continent and launch a war. After conquering half the continent, the fighting ceased. I thought the emperor, in his old age, would stop daydreaming, but it turns out that wasn't the case. If this relic truly grants immortality, then the continent will surely be engulfed in flames once more. This matter is very important, so I will personally go to the northern continent. That's why I came here to find you, to prevent the emperor from being furious if he found out. The two clinked glasses and drank their wine in one gulp. As expected, you only ever make me do troublesome things. The next second, Zeke collapsed to his knees, exhausted. Relics of an ancient dragon? If I'm not mistaken, the carving I obtained in my previous life was a relic of an ancient dragon. The voice that echoed in my mind before I died, and the windows I saw after my rebirth all matched up perfectly. I stole the relic that could grant the emperor's wish, so he sent his elite hounds to hunt me down. The management system that allowed me to return to the past was a relic from an ancient dragon. However, the question of who actually made this thing remains unanswered, leaving everyone with a lot of questions. A moment later, Duke and Arthur got up and left the room. At that moment, he seemed to notice something unusual behind the door. If that thing is the relic the emperor was looking for, then what does going back to the past have to do with immortality? The next second, Arthur suddenly pushed open the door. However, no immediate figure was found. Could it be my imagination? The scene shifts to Zeke training in the training room. Decker then gestures to Zeke. Young master, your classmate is here to see you. Should we let him in? Is this a classmate? Could it be Lena? Let her in then. A moment later, Liam knelt down in front of Zeke and begged, please accept me. Jake was speechless. He shouldn't have meddled in other people's business back then. Do you want to be my subordinate? But what about Jacken? Upon hearing this, Liam immediately declared, I have been abandoned. I must get into Valhalla. Zeke was very curious as to why this guy was so obsessed with Valhalla in his previous life. But you shouldn't have come to me. You should have gone to Thunjman's. I don't have any family support. In other words, I can't help you get into Valhalla at all. And how can I believe what you've said? To put it bluntly, you might be a spy sent by Jacken. Just then, Liam drew the dagger from his waist. He then chopped off his own ear. You might doubt that I'm normal, but I'll find a way to prove myself. If you make me mute, I'll cut off my tongue. If you make me lame, I'll cut off my legs. I entrust my life to you, my lord. Please accept me. This scene inevitably reminded Zeke of his past life. I want to become stronger than anyone else. Please teach me, master. At this moment, Liam is just like his past self. He immediately threw the greatsword in his hand. As long as you can withstand one of my moves, I'll accept you. A moment later, Liam gave his wound a quick treatment. He was shocked. He had thought that taking the next move would be very easy. After all, he can also use air. But is this guy really our age? This powerful aura sent a chill down Liam's spine. He didn't even dare to breathe at that moment. The next second, Zeke suddenly launched an attack. Upon seeing this, Liam immediately used all his strength to block it. With a loud bang, the sword in his hand was sent flying dozens of meters away by the powerful force. Liamston, is this all you've got? It was absolutely terrible. Right after Zeke defeated Liam in one move. At this moment, he slowly spoke. I overestimated your awareness. I advise you to give up on Valhalla. It seems he's truly been abandoned by Jacken. If Liam hadn't become Jaken's servant, he wouldn't have been able to get into Cradle Academy at all. They even dared to kick me, their direct descendant, out, so Liam will probably be expelled soon. Just then, Liam grabbed Zeke's right leg. Did he really have to go this far? He was the man known as the king of mercenaries in his past life. At this moment, Liam was crying and pleading, please, Zeke, give me another chance. Seeing this, Jake was speechless. It seemed he had no intention of giving up at all. Then I'll give you one more chance. However, I have one condition. Didn't I just say that you'd do anything if I accepted you? Then cut off your right arm. Upon hearing this, Liam broke out in a cold sweat. What? Are you reluctant to part with this arm? In reality, Zeke was asking him to give up his life as a swordsman. If he were a normal person, he certainly wouldn't have obeyed Zeke's request. If you can't make a decision, please leave. I need to continue my cultivation. At the same time, Liam slowly stood up. Although Zeke was unaware of Liam's purpose in wanting to enter Valhalla. Even if he can't enter Valhalla, he can still reach the Crimson Realm. The next second, Liam picked up the greatsword from the ground. He then swung his sword heavily, aiming to slash at his own arm. Damn, he's absolutely insane. Without the slightest hesitation, Zeke immediately struck and severed the heavy sword from his hand. Then he grabbed his collar. Are you kidding me? What if I change my mind? You actually dared to make a move. That's because I might lose something more important than my arm. If you do this again, I will not hesitate to kick you out. Upon hearing this, Liam was overjoyed. Zek, do you mean you're willing to take me in? Of course, Liam replied, but before that, you'd better pick up your ears. The scene shifts to Zeke and Liam having a meal. He was quite surprised. Can I really use such good medicine? Of course you deserve this. But then again, what's more important than your arm? My mother. After Jacken abandoned me, I received news that my mother had collapsed due to a high fever. Although the fever subsided quickly, rose-like spots appeared all over her body. Moreover, her body grew weaker and weaker, her, and even the village healers didn't know what illness she had. So that's why you want to go to Valhalla? Because Valhalla offers students and their families the best medical resources on the continent. At this moment, Jike picked up his pen and slowly wrote the characters. Red spots like roses, and regular high fevers. These are the symptoms of the safflower disease that will sweep across the entire continent in 5 years. Because of its extremely high infectivity and mortality rate, it has claimed countless lives. Fortunately, a treatment was developed at that time, otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Zeke then handed the written prescription to Liam. The potion was very simple to make, even the village healer could make it. Liam was shocked. Sir, how did you know about an illness that even the healer didn't know about? The genius alchemists, brothers Al and Jep, developed a healing potion in their quest to save the continent. However, the alchemists, who were greedy for money, wanted to profit from the patients. So, after learning of this, the two brothers published the formula, and eventually the entire continent knew about the potion. At this moment, Zeke slowly spoke up. It's nothing, I just know some alchemists. Now that you have the healing potion, there's no need for you to go to Valhalla, and even less need for you to be my subordinate. Upon hearing this, Liam slowly knelt down before Zeke. How could that be? I entrusted my life to you, Lord Zeke, long ago. I swear to be loyal to you for life. A vow of loyalty? Having the mercenary king from my past life as my subordinate is truly reliable. If you can't keep up with me, I'll abandon you immediately. Meanwhile, Irving found the principal. I would like to suggest something. How about increasing the difficulty of the assessments this semester? The principal was puzzled. Why would anyone do this? The first-year students this year are quite strong, including powerful family members and 2 pure-blooded Awaken individuals. If the exam difficulty remains the same as last year, the ability to distinguish between different situations will be greatly reduced. At this moment, the principal slowly spoke up and said, "You're right. I will carefully consider your suggestion." After a moment, the principal let out a long sigh of relief. Blood is indeed thicker than water. I actually thought the same thing as that person. Considering the potential consequences, we must nip it in the bud. Time flew by and the day of the semester evaluation dungeon exploration arrived. The dungeon exploration exam is a unique semester evaluation method used by Drake Academy. Teams of 2 must escape the instance within a specified time. Each team is randomly assigned to an instance, resulting in a significant difference in difficulty between instances. Liam, are you nervous? If you're too nervous, you'll make mistakes. If you're not nervous, you'll become arrogant. A moderate level of tension can prevent both of these. Next pair, Zeke and Liam. Just then, the instructor stopped the two of them. Wait, where is your exam venue? At this moment, Zeke seemed to realize something. What's wrong, classmates? Why aren't you going in yet? We'll do as you say, no problem. With that, the two slowly made their way into the dungeon. Although the dungeons vary in difficulty, these are experimental dungeons controlled by Drake and pose no real danger. Since the goal is to escape the dungeon within a time limit, each group receives a timer upon entering. Each group has a time limit of 96 hours, and basic combat ability is one of the evaluation criteria. Bringing back a monster's head will earn you extra points. The most important thing is to leave the instance. If you can't escape the instance within the time limit, you will fail. A moment later, the two set up their tent and rested. 16 hours have passed since entering the instance. Up until the day of the exam, Zeke had been training through the night for 4 days straight, meaning he hadn't slept for a total of 90 hours. Unlimited stamina can only restore physical fatigue, not mental fatigue. In dungeons where anything can happen, it's best to minimize danger. At the same time, Zeke slowly closed his eyes. The next second, a scene appeared before his eyes. Bells swaying in the wind, and the tattered battle flag. There is also a tragic scene. At that moment, Jike suddenly woke up from his dream. Damn it, is it that dream again? Wait, I think I just heard the sound of the bell. Then Zeke seemed to realize something. He then extinguished the torch. Liam, wake up. The enemy is attacking. I'm going to check it out. Don't turn on the light. This exam will last for 4 days, so using Longan would be too risky. It's better to let the eyes get used to the dark. Just then, he smelled a sulfurous odor. Then he suddenly remembered that the body show, a level 3 dangerous monster with a sulfurous smell that moved in packs. Could it be a hellhound? In her previous life, Lena captured a half-orc during her semester evaluation. She never expected there to be hellhounds here. But he also found it strange that even the leader of the hellhounds only weighed a few hundred pounds at most. Such a tremor would involve at least tens of tons of metal. Could it be that a mutation has occurred? Damn it, this is a huge problem. The next second, Zeke swiftly dodged the enemy's attack. It only came to a slow stop after gliding for several dozen meters. Damn the Jammans family, I thought they were up to something behind the scenes. They're planning to wipe us out completely. Liam was utterly shocked. This was actually a mountain spirit. A level 1 dangerous monster capable of easily tearing apart hellhounds and orcs. Mountain spirit blood is a raw material for making healing potions, and they possess terrifying regenerative abilities. At the same time, Liam stood directly in front of Zeke. "I'll be the bait, Zeke, you'd better run away." Upon hearing this, Jake immediately smiled. What a joke! How could a lord abandon his subordinates and run away? "Liam, you need to rely on your own efforts, not me. You're very strong, I'll assist you, so hurry up and get started." Upon hearing this, Liam immediately smiled. The next second, the two launched an attack on the mountain spirit. After a flurry of swords and shadows, the mountain spirit now had several wounds, and importantly, Liam had been attacking its joints every time. Did this guy even take the time to research monsters? But this level is far from enough. At that moment, Zeke leaped forward to block the mountain spirit's attack for Liam. "You performed very well in this practical exercise. You attacked the opponent's weak points, but you forgot about the mountain spirit's terrifying regenerative abilities. They can heal such minor wounds instantly. Your normal attack speed can't keep up with the mountain spirit's regeneration. You're no match for him yet. Let me take him down." In no time, Jake killed the mountain spirit on the spot, and thus gained 30 achievement points. At the same time, Zeke gestured for Liam to wear his head, since he could add a lot of points for the two of them. A notification window appeared ahead. A surprise mission with 2 objectives. Hunt down 100 monsters of at least 10 different types in the dungeon. The time limit is 72 hours. The mission reward will be double achievement points and 2 random chests. With 79 hours left until the exam ends, hunting 100 monsters shouldn't be a problem. The key is the 10 types of monsters. Even though the scale is large, there are usually only 4 to 5 types of monsters in the exam dungeon. However, since it's a trap prepared by Jamons, there should be at least 10 types if you look carefully. Meanwhile, Liam completed the retrieval of the mountain spirit's head. "Good, Liam, stay with me and don't fall behind." After a short hunt, time quickly dwindled to only 12 hours. "How's Liam?" "After hunting so many monsters, you should be used to real combat by now." Liam disagreed, saying, "I'm still a little unaccustomed to it. Indeed, it takes a long time to get used to." At that moment, Jake gazed out the window, lost in thought. He has only hunted 9 types of monsters so far, and there are no more places to search. The Gemons family is completely useless. Why didn't they prepare another type of monster? Just then, a violent tremor struck. The next second, a huge crack appeared in the ground. Upon seeing this, Zeke immediately shouted at Liam, who dropped his bag and ran. Before he could react, Zeke had already appeared in front of him and cut his backpack in half. "Don't worry, Liam. This is nothing but monster blood. You can just watch from the sidelines from now on. I may not be able to protect you anymore." The dungeon worm is a monster that requires more than a dozen skilled purple knights to defeat. It's an extremely dangerous monster. Damn it, Jamons was very well prepared. The next second, the worm suddenly launched an attack. Upon seeing this, Jake immediately drew his sword to block it. They then quickly distanced themselves from him. Even the blue knights don't want to encounter dungeon worms, because they have the ability to move by consuming the ground. If the task cannot be completed within the specified time, they will be buried directly here. Meanwhile, Zeke clashed with the monster several times, even though Zeke left him with many wounds. However, it did not cause it much damage. Just as Zeke was preparing to unleash his full power, the ground suddenly started cracking open. The next second, that damned bug. Upon seeing this, Jake immediately plunged his sword into the worm's body. At the same time, the worm wriggled and bound Zeke tightly. Meanwhile, Liam was gradually approaching Zeke's direction. At that moment, Zeke suddenly realized that the pressure had lessened considerably. He then used teleportation to escape. He was very curious. "Liam, what exactly did you do?" Liam immediately responded, "I applied anesthesia to the sword." "I see. The main ingredient in the anesthetic is belladonna, which only dulls the senses in humans. However, it is highly poisonous to worms." Surprisingly, even under these circumstances, he still remembered that belladonna could control worms, using anesthesia instead of belladonna's ability to adapt to the situation. As expected of Liam, your nickname truly lives up to your excellent judgment and responsiveness. "Liam, wait until I give the signal, then plunge the sword into the worm's body. It seems like taking you under my wing was the right choice." The next second, Zeke swiftly slashed several times at the worm. "Liam, now!" Upon hearing this, Liam immediately plunged the dagger into the worm's body, and the worm instantly roared in pain. At the same time, Zeke slowly condensed ether. Soul body technique cut. As a figure flashed by, the giant worm was instantly cleaved in two. At this moment, several notification windows popped up, announcing that you have received double the mission reward points for completing the emergency mission, and 2 boxes will be randomly sent as a reward. Currently has 780 points. Just after Zeke killed the worm, the instructors are grading the students. You'll get 30 points as long as you escape. Based on the calculation of the monster heads, Lena's total score is 180 points. Everyone present was utterly shocked upon hearing this. Purebloods truly were different. different. As expected of the Thun family, their score far exceeded the passing mark of 130 points. The next member of the Gemons family, Irving, scored a total of 120 points. That's 70 points above the passing score, truly remarkable. But Irving seemed completely unconcerned. Lena Thun, I'll see how long you can keep up this arrogance. If it really doesn't work, just take her down like you took down Zeke. Just then, a familiar voice rang out. It's been so long since I've seen the sun. Isn't this the dungeon worm? Aren't orcs supposed to be the highest scoring monsters? Did those two actually catch the dungeon worm? Irving was utterly shocked at that moment. Why are you so happy to see me? Where did your poker face go? That's right, it does look much better this way. At that moment, Irving angrily turned and left. Damn pure blood, I'll make you pay a terrible price. Just then, Instructor Andre began to score the two. I'm in charge of the scoring, so don't even think about trying to get away with it. Did he eat the bag containing the head? Yes, Zeke affirmed this. That's really lucky. Because of the raid by the dungeon worms, all the heads they had collected over the past 3 days were lost. Therefore, in order to pass the exam, they had no choice but to return with the worm heads. Andre is probably the only person who can examine skin residue on teeth so closely. After a short while, Andre finally finished the examination. Based on the current situation, the monsters include fairies and goblins, hellhounds and orcs, with mountain spirit. Upon hearing this, everyone present was utterly shocked. There were actually mountain spirits. Considering that there are probably dozens of monsters with that much health, it would be unfair to admit that. I'll calculate based on the number of each type of monster. Mountain spirits and worms are not included in the evaluation criteria. However, if we calculate that the mountain spirit equals 3 orcs and the worm equals 6 orcs, the scores are 90 and 180 points respectively. Your total score is 368 points. You have passed. Upon hearing this, all the students were utterly shocked. How could 368 points be possible? So far, we've only seen the head of one of the dungeon worms, but everyone felt that discussing this now was completely pointless. If it were them encountering dungeon worms and mountain spirits, whether they can get out alive is a question. Is Gecko Drake really that good? It seems their opinion of me has changed quite a bit, although this feeling is quite nice. But in the end, he did something remarkable. Jamons went so far as to tamper with the exam's official copy in an attempt to eliminate me. Was this an order from Irving? No, even Irving didn't have the authority to do that. Maybe it's someone from the Jamons family. Did I really expect to attract so much attention? For now, I'll just play with them. Just then, Lena called out to Zeke. You won this time. Hearing this, Jike was speechless. What did this mean? A moment later, Zeke arrived at the training field. He spent 50 points to unlock the gluttony skill. The next second, detailed information about the gluttony skill appeared before his eyes. Gluttony, in a gluttonous state, all food consumed will be converted into energy. When consuming monsters with blood-related abilities, one can acquire those monsters' abilities. Can it absorb monsters' abilities? I wish I had unlocked it before the exam started. As for energy conversion, we'll have to try it to know. Just then, a dark shadow instantly devoured the piece of meat in Zeke's hand. In no time, a dark shadow appeared beneath Jake's feet. Like falling into a swamp, the chunk of meat vanished instantly into the shadows. The ability to absorb energy replenishes insufficient energy. At this moment, he could feel that not only his mental fatigue but also his physical fatigue and even his etheric energy had been restored. This is fantastic. This skill can reduce the side effects of all skills. Mental fatigue can be relieved by overeating, while physical fatigue is not felt due to unlimited energy. That way I can train without eating or sleeping. Just then, Decker reported an important matter to Zeke. Young master, your sword is finished. The scene shifts, and Zeke stares at the sword before him, lost in thought. In his past life, Jerian forged the shining sword from mithril and pure iron. Anyone who saw it would think it would be a famous sword. Although I used dragon fangs as material this time, I thought it would look similar to the radiant sword. What exactly is this ominous aura? He was now picking up the sword and examining it closely. From its appearance, it was a very poor quality sword. Did you deliberately leave it unsharpened? But Galleon insisted that this was exactly what the sword originally looked like. Do you mean this type of sword is best suited for me? Of course, Galleon affirmed this. Anyone else would have found this absurd, but he correctly saw through my intentions. If it were him. At this moment, Galleon slowly spoke, saying, actually, this sword doesn't have a name yet. Although I want to come up with a name, I really can't think of anything. Why don't you come up with the name yourself? In his past life, Galleon named this sword the Radiant Sword, but the man before him said he couldn't come up with a name for it. I thought it was just a sword with dragon fangs altered to change the appearance of the Radiant Sword. It looks like a completely different sword from the Radiant Sword. Then Zeke slashed his arm open with a knife. The activation of the healing factor was then paused. The next second he dripped blood onto the sword. Galleon was shocked. Was this some kind of sword naming ceremony? The sword naming ceremony is a traditional ritual among dwarves for naming their weapons. The ritual of bringing weapons into contact with blood imbued with energy energy and magic. During the ritual, the practitioner enters a deep unconscious state until they find the name of the sword. He will linger in infinite time. How could you possibly know about this long-forgotten ancient ritual? Meanwhile, Zeke had already entered his consciousness, wandering among countless names, in order to find the name of this sword. The next second, a huge black dragon hovered around him. Black Sword Bahamut. Immediately afterwards, a window notification appeared in front of you. Black Sword Bahamut is registered as your weapon. I was immediately astonished. The thing I had gone to so much trouble to retrieve was actually the name of that evil dragon. Was my unconsciousness really okay? After a moment, Zeke bandaged his wound and then explained to Galleon that he had discovered the ritual by chance while studying Dwarven history. Just then, Galleon slowly said, "Please rest for a moment. I have something I'd like to give you." At the same time, Zeke stared at his left hand, lost in thought. The ability to pause skills that can be activated at any time is a significant discovery. This way, I can avoid being discovered by powerful figures like Duke. I don't need to reveal all my cards. But then again, let's take a look at this sword first. The Black Sword Bahamut possesses an indestructible unique ability. It can convert other powers into aura. Note that it is currently sealed and will be released as the user grows stronger. Does it unlock based on the user's growth? I've never heard of such a weapon before. Moreover, it possesses the property of being indestructible. Although it's made from dragon fangs, this is simply outrageous. However, the most important thing right now is, or is it its ability to convert other forces into chi? I went to great lengths to create a magical forge for Galleon and commissioned him to forge a sword, partly because of his exceptional skill. Another key feature is Grammar's core function, air conversion, a unique ability to convert all magical ether and other energies into air. In his previous life, Zeke became the Crimson Knight thanks to this sword. A moment later, Galleon finally found the thing. At this moment, however, he revealed an expression of utter shock. This is actually chi. The aura that could envelop the sword suggests that the adult's strength has surpassed that of the Purple Knight. He then handed the scabbard in his hand to Zeke. "This is a sword sheath that my master made by hand. Corinthian Job." Is that the Corinthian Job who was known as the greatest blacksmith? He is the most skilled blacksmith on the continent, possessing unparalleled strength among the dwarves. All the weapons he created were perfect, and they also possessed special functions. "You're actually that guy's apprentice?" Zeke seemed quite surprised at this moment. If he made it, then it's definitely not an ordinary scabbard. Of course, you just need to turn the knob at the scabbard entrance. It can instantly transform into a shield. This is made of mithril and wyvern bones. It can withstand most attacks. "Please accept this as a gift from me." Zeke was puzzled. The scabbard seemed a bit small. The next second, the scabbard suddenly enveloped the sword in an instant. In no time, the scabbard transformed into the exact size of the black sword. Indeed, the things Golan made were beyond imagination. The scene shifts, and Zeke stares at the equipment in his hand, lost in thought. Cloud iron, isn't that a rare material? The complete set of information is made from cloud iron. Collecting the entire cloud iron set will activate a unique ability. This was a random chest he received during a surprise mission. He originally thought it would be similar to a treasure chest, but he didn't expect the contents to be even more valuable. Now let's check the second box. But when he opened the box, he seemed very puzzled. What exactly is this? At this moment, he took out a map. A notification window then appeared ahead, indicating that you had discovered the map of Hero King Caesar. King Caesar the Hero and the Knights of the Clock Tower is a book that describes the king of heroes and his knights. The biography of their joint establishment of the civilized nation of Kronos is the most popular book on the continent. But the content was so absurd that there was no evidence to prove the legend's authenticity. Zeke was quite surprised at this moment, never expecting that the king of heroes actually existed. He then analyzed the map. Is this the giant mountains? This is barbarian territory. It seems this matter might be easier to resolve than I initially thought. At the same time, a notification window appeared in front of us. The tutorial ends based on the user's skill level. The next second, a window appears displaying the item for the quest, the achievement quest Ruins of Hero King Caesar. Explore the ruins of the Hero King and find his secret manual. There is no time limit. The quest reward has been upgraded from basic to intermediate level. I see, the beginner's tutorial is for improving system skills. So, should we now begin the formal tasks? In that case, I'll take all of these rewards. Zeke then used a large number of points to unlock the second stage of the dragon skills. To obtain the skills Dragon Scale Armor and Dragon Claw, each requires 80 points to unlock. Upon seeing this, Zeke immediately chose to unlock the two skills, and now he only has 400 points left. Let's try out the Dragon Claw skill next. With a sudden, powerful strike, the ground was instantly torn apart. The force far exceeded his expectations. Zeke then used the Dragon Scale Armor skill with his left hand, followed by a sword slash at his left hand. But the next second, the greatsword was blasted dozens of meters away. Even without any equipment, this effect seems to be even more durable than armor. Dragon Claw Attack and Dragon Scale Defense, these two skills are pretty good. The scene shifts to the training grounds of Drake Academy, where everyone is preparing for the Sword Aura exam, part of their semester evaluation. The rules are simple. These puppets are made of special materials, and ordinary wrist strength cannot leave any marks on their surface. However, it can be easily destroyed using sword energy. If you cannot destroy or leave a mark, then it will be judged as unqualified. No matter how good the previous evaluations were, it will be useless, and everything will start from the basics again. Everyone was shocked to hear this. Did it mean they couldn't advance? The instructor then announced the official start of the exam, while Irving, standing to the side, fell into deep thought. For him, this was simply his usual method of training sword chi. The sword chi education at this academy was established by the Gemins family. Even a pure-blooded awakened one is no match for him in controlling sword energy. The next Kairi. At that moment, he slowly drew his long sword, and a long, resonant sword cry echoed throughout the training ground. The instructors were astonished to see this. It was actually Jian Ming, truly a talent worthy of a powerful family. At the same time, Irving was seen rapidly wielding his long sword in the exam hall. In no time, deep sword marks were left on all the puppets on the field. The audience below the stage was utterly shocked. Truly, James was worthy of the title. At this rate, surpassing Lord Abel is only a matter of time. The next second, Irving instantly shook off the instructor's hand. He then walked angrily off the stage. A moment later, many candidates performed very poorly. Everyone seemed frustrated by Irving's performance. So far, not a single student has failed, which makes this class seem quite different. Soon it was Lena's turn to take the exam. At this moment, she slowly spoke. Instructor, I have a request. I hope to be evaluated using the method of slaying dragons. The instructor was shocked to hear this, as those were the evaluation standards for senior students. Using sword energy and performing the dragon slaying technique are completely different levels of difficulty. Infusing energy into the sword only requires superb concentration, but the dragon slaying technique requires precise control and the proper allocation of energy for each move. At this moment, Owen couldn't help but feel a chill. Silena, you've brought this upon yourself. Your sword aura will dissipate after a few swings at most. The instructor standing nearby broke out in a cold sweat. This would make the exam even more rigorous. Are you sure you're okay with that? Of course, Lena affirmed this. Then, Lena slowly gathered her sword energy. The next second, a figure flashed quickly through the group of puppets. Amidst a flurry of flashing swords, in no time at all, the surrounding puppets were completely destroyed by Lena. Everyone present was stunned. I thought Owen was the strongest, but compared to Lena, he was like night and day. Damn it, Lena stole my thunder again. Just then, Lena pointed her sword forward. Damn it, is he going to laugh at me in public? Wrong. From the beginning, they're not interested in me. Just after Rena finished her exam, Zeke was quite helpless. They're staring at me so intently, I can't just pretend I don't see them. Since that's the case, I'll agree then. Instructor, please use the dragon slaying method to evaluate me. Upon hearing this, the instructor standing nearby was quite dissatisfied. Do you think you're Lena? Do you think the dragon slaying technique is so easy to demonstrate? But the other instructor agreed, and the conditions were the same as Lena's, no problem. Of course, Jike affirmed this. The instructor standing to the side was quite puzzled. Why did you agree to this guy's request? I've never seen that kid in class before. Zeke won the bet with instructor Andre, so he doesn't have to attend class. He was the first pure-blooded awakened being to emit a golden light. The dungeon exploration exam even broke the record left by Lord Abel. He is the legendary Gick Derrick. At the same time, Zeke was seen converting ether into sword energy using his greatsword. This was more difficult than I imagined. However, this level should be sufficient. At this moment, Zeke slowly raised his greatsword. The next second, Lena showed an expression of utter shock. This is the first chapter, section 1, of the Dragon Slayer technique, sky-piercing rider style. Damn, his posture was so perfect it rivaled instructor Andre's. A figure flashed by. Zeke had already perfectly demonstrated the dragon slaying technique. The dragon slaying technique I used to the point of vomiting in my past life is quite good to demonstrate from the basics. This level of agitation should be enough to provoke Lena, right? At the same time, the sounds coming from the surroundings made Jike's heart tremble. Did he just envelop the sword in sword energy? Is Zeke now a purple knight? Damn it, was I too engrossed? That's why I unconsciously revealed my sword aura. This is a big problem. They've done something attention-grabbing again. The two instructors standing nearby wore expressions of disbelief. A first-year student had actually reached the level of a purple knight. Even Irving couldn't help but start trembling. Lena, however, seemed somewhat excited. The scene shifts, and the principal summons Zeke. I heard you achieved amazing results in your exams, reaching the purple knight level at the age of 13. You're truly incredible. Jike, do you want to take the grade skipping exam? Jike was quite puzzled. Did skipping a grade mean skipping the first year? Of course, it could be more than that. After all, it's a system designed for outstanding students like you. Didn't expect him to take the bait so quickly. After all, I did so many attention-grabbing things. Without the slightest hesitation, Jike immediately agreed. Although I don't know what they're their scheme is, I'm happy to play alone. Meanwhile, the principal contacted someone, and both Lena and Zeke agreed to take the exam to skip a grade. Let's arrange it that way then. Yes, I understand. Things are getting more and more interesting. Meanwhile, in the advanced chi training room of Drake Academy, Zeke and Reina were assigned to this place. Then a figure suddenly appeared before the two of them. This is Aldrich, the senior knight of the main family who is in charge of today's grade skipping exam. Upon hearing this, Jike was immediately shocked. Could this person be Mu Lu Jian? In his past life, Jike had encountered this person by chance. He initially thought it was the Empire's hounds who had found him again. He later discovered that all didn't seem to harbor any hostility towards him. He only wanted to give his teammates a proper burial. Upon seeing this, Jike handed him some tools. Let me help you. Even if you don't want to, I will still help you. I'm Zeke Mori from the Northern Alliance team. You're from the Drake family, right? At this moment, he slowly replied, no, I have already abandoned the Drake surname. How should I address you? Just call me Mu Lu Jian. Oh, Walmart, that does suit the aloof name of Mu Lu Jian quite well. However, it's worth mentioning that Drake actually sent a high-ranking knight to be in charge of the first-year skip grade exam. You must know that the high-ranking knights are Drake's pillars of support. High-ranking positions are only attainable by those with a reputation and experience in martial arts. Meanwhile, the instructor announced the exam rules. The exam would be a sword duel, and as long as no one lost consciousness or surrendered, the challenge could continue. Use all your talents to the fullest. Just as Lena was preparing to be the first to take the exam, at this moment, Aveir slowly spoke up, saying that one-on-one exams were not necessary. Come at me all at once. Just as Rena was about to launch an attack, Zeke stopped her. Don't be angry yet. You know the difference in strength between him and us. Besides, the exam has already started. If you had rushed over so recklessly, you would definitely have lost points. Upon hearing this, Lena immediately calmed down. Zeke Drake, what do you need me to do? I have a good battle plan in this situation that can cripple him in one blow. A moment later, both sides took their respective positions. A strange sword from the Eastern Empire, with a blade on only one side, is called a ring-bladed sword. Unexpectedly, he had been using this weapon for a long time. Lena seemed very dissatisfied, but for the weak, such honor and self-esteem meant nothing. However, for now, the focus is still on how to implement the plan. The next second, both of them launched an even more ferocious attack on Aveir, but he blocked them all with a simple gesture. As Aveir unleashed a single sword strike, the two quickly created distance between them. Lena was utterly shocked. Was this the power of a high-ranking knight? Following Zeke's instructions, they were to attack from blind spots, but so far they hadn't even touched a hair on Aveir's head. The next second, Lena slowly gathered her energy and unleashed the Dragon Slayer technique. Chapter 3, Section 1, Crescent Slash. I must attack with the mindset of killing him. At that moment, a crescent-shaped slash shot towards Aveir, but he dodged it by sidestepping. Then he kicked Lena hard. She was instantly sent flying dozens of meters away. Seeing this, the people standing nearby were very worried. Lena, are you alright? Of course I have no problem with this, but it's dangerous here. You'd better stay away. Creating an opening? With my abilities, I simply cannot do that. But you actually managed to do it? Gick Derek. At first, Rena was dismissive of participating in Zeke's battle plan, but Zeke believed that this was not a sport like knightly combat but an exam. He's testing and evaluating our combat capabilities. I understand. I will participate in your operational plan. But do you think this plan will work? After all, the opponent is a high-ranking knight, so why not just create a situation where the plan can be used? When they faced off after emerging from the cradle, why can't you dodge the stone I throw? That's because I didn't expect you to use that kind of method. That's right, even high-ranking knights are like you. I'll signal you when the time is right. This tactic will definitely be very useful. Creating even a small opening will be enough. At the same time, Zeke used the dragon slaying technique and the swift wind shadowless step to quickly approach Aveir. Aveir was somewhat surprised to see this. Wasn't this Lord Duke's gate? Then, immediately, he swung his sword at him. Now you need to get nervous. The surrounding lights went out instantly the next second. I see, by utilizing the magic blocking properties of pure-blooded awakened beings. This is indeed a trick that a child would come up with. Do you really think that just because their vision is blocked, they can expose a weakness in a high-ranking knight? At that moment, a strong sense of unease suddenly struck, leaving all utterly shocked. Even I can only vaguely make out its shape in the darkness, but this guy seems to be able to see everything. At the same time, Zeke slowly activated the Dragon Claw skill. I wanted to try out a new skill, and Aveir didn't seem like the type to gossip about it. The next second, a huge Dragon Claw instantly attacked Aveir. Upon seeing this, he immediately swung his sword to block it. At that moment, he was utterly shocked. Was this really a student's swordsmanship? No, this doesn't look like sword fighting at all. But anyway, Zeke's strength is already far beyond the level of a normal student. Rena certainly couldn't move as freely in the dark as Zeke. Eliminate unnecessary combat forces and restrict my actions? This tactic only works against opponents of similar skill levels. The next next second, both sides launched an even more intense offensive. Zeke was quite surprised that he had gotten used to fighting in the dark so quickly. At that moment, Aveir unleashed a powerful sword strike. It vanished, leaving only a vague outline visible, giving one the feeling of fighting against a shadow. Just then, Aveir swung his sword and slashed to the side. It's a magic lamp. At this moment, Zeke had already cut down all the magic lamps. The sound of the magic lamp falling masked the sound that was immediately emitted. The next second, Zeke suddenly swung his sword at him. Lena is now, as Zeke threw the bottle into the air. This is the bottle that Zeke asked the professor to make. It contains flash and popping magic. The next second, a sound wave and a flash of light exploded outwards. The loud noise immediately made all cover his ears. Damn it, he took advantage of the situation. At the same time, Lena seized the opportunity and launched a sudden attack on Aveir. Even Zeke quickly attacked him. But at that moment, Aveir used the full moon slash technique from the Dragon Slayer method to neutralize the two's attack. The two were instantly sent flying dozens of meters away. Damn, this guy is way too strong. Just after Aveir defeated the two men with a single sword strike. At that moment, Duke's voice rang out. Aveir, you really beat someone else's apprentice badly. Hello, Swift Knight. You seem as indifferent as ever. By the way, what do you think of my apprentice? Upon hearing this, Aveir immediately fell into deep thought. The instant his attack landed, Zeke Drake deliberately threw his sword in a defensive stance. He could have countered. Why did he do that? Could it be that his goal isn't victory, but rather to skip a level? Is Zeke hiding a portion of his strength? Does he not want to reveal his full power? At this moment, Aveir slowly spoke. Zeke Drake's strength far exceeds what I can assess. The scene shifts, and the principal approves Zeke and Reina's decision to skip a grade. The teachers present had no interest in this, so Zeke and Reina were assigned to the 5th grade and the 3rd grade, respectively. Since then, Jike has tried to keep a low profile. Since Duke taught him the Gale technique, Andre has succeeded Zeke as his successor. He maintained a friendly relationship with Pennon throughout, but Pennon was later recruited by the Delphi Royal Magic Research Institute and left the academy, causing their relationship to gradually drift apart. It is worth mentioning that he never had any contact with other powerful families after that. Interestingly, Aveir would seek out Zeke for sparring every quarter. Then, as if he had realized something, he applied for a leave of absence to cultivate in seclusion. 2 years passed quickly, and Zeke had successfully graduated from the academy. Dirk was very excited. The youngest new family head of Valhalla would be proud of him. After all, it was rare for the headmaster to personally write a letter of recommendation for enrollment. Just then, Zeke gestured to Dirk. There are still 3 months until the entrance ceremony, right? Dirk, you should go back to Atlas first. I want to recuperate quietly by myself. I don't want to be disturbed by anyone, do you understand? Of course, Dirk immediately agreed. The ruins of Taishiru are located in the giant mountains. Zeke plans to explore them through the Adventurers Guild of the Kingdom of Argus under the pretext of recuperation. He did not intend to reveal his true intentions to suspicious individuals. At this moment, Liam slowly knelt before Zeke, saying, "Greetings, Lord Zeke Drake. Liam already said that you're putting a lot of pressure on me, so I'll take my leave now. Let's handle the Baera school matter with the Black Tower." At this moment, Liam was very curious. "Why did you call me here?" "Of course," Liam replied. "I heard you've joined the special class, and as your lord, I certainly can't stand idly by. From the semester assessment predictions to the training guide, I've compiled a list of all the items needed for the exam. Go to the Breathing Blacksmith in Fabnaz and give them this list. They'll give you the items. Also, since you're already a 4th grade student, I've commissioned the blacksmith to forge a sword suitable for you. Liam, I believe you can keep up with me." Liam was deeply moved upon hearing this. "I will absolutely not let you down, my lord." The Kingdom of Argus, located at the northernmost tip of the continent, along with Delpet, B, and Elencia, are collectively known as the 4 great kingdoms of the continent. The giant mountains are the boundary mountain range connecting Warcraft and the mainland, containing numerous dungeons of varying sizes. Therefore, adventurers hoping to reap huge rewards flock to the giant mountains. The first king of Argus linked adventurers with dungeons, providing various services and making it a major industry for the nation. With the royal family's assistance, the giant mountains were divided into hundreds of regions, establishing transportation routes and outposts. This is the origin of the Argus adventure craft that spread throughout the continent. At this moment, Zeke registered as an adventurer using the identity of Zeke Mori. He disguised himself to make things easier. After all, running around as Drake would be too conspicuous. Now let's begin the treasure hunt. A moment later, Zeke boarded the carriage bound for the giant mountains. Finding a spot during this peak season is already quite good. Just then, a voice came from beside me. "Brother, are you an adventurer too? You seem so nervous. It looks like this is your first time entering a dungeon." Then the blonde guy slowly approached Zeke. "How about we go into the dungeon together? Don't let our appearance fool you, we're all veterans. The recent dungeons are very dangerous. Going in alone could easily turn you into monster dinner." Zeke had already seen through their intentions. This was a typical tactic of using novice adventurers as bait to lure monsters or sell them to slave traders. Zeke ignored him. He then gestured for them to quiet down. He then asked the driver, "There's a monster about 500 meters to our left. It looks like an orc. Are there any monsters around here?" The driver was very puzzled, as this route was a safe zone. At the same time, the blonde-haired man started mocking Zeke, saying, "Don't you know that the Adventurers Guild's main route is directly managed by the kingdom? Forget monsters, not even a wild beast can get into this area. What is that thing behind you?" The next second, the orc destroyed the carriage with a single blow. In no time, the surrounding area descended into chaos. Orcs have appeared in the safe zone. Has the stronghold lost its function? Just as I thought, this matter has become much more complicated. Were the Argus soldiers also attacked? But with so many soldiers, they should be able to handle most monsters. Just then, Zeke noticed the soldiers' wounds. This was not the work of a monster. It's something humans did. He discovered that if it were a monster attack, the wound wouldn't be so neat. Moreover, these soldiers showed almost no resistance. They were killed instantly. It's a real shame, but leaving it here will only cause misunderstandings. The most important thing right now is to find the Kaisalo ruins. A moment later, Zeke arrived in the barbarian territory. According to the mini-map, he had reached the vicinity of the ruins. But why are the Imperial Hounds here? The Hounds are elite trainees selected from the Empire's Knights, specializing in tracking and assassination techniques, and are the Emperor's direct forces. At this point, no one except high-ranking officials of the Empire knows of the existence of the Hounds, but they will soon become the main force in the battles initiated by the Empire. Zeke had already been monitoring their every move through the mini-map. After all, he died at the hands of hunting dogs in his previous life, and he remembered Duke saying that the Emperor was obsessed with immortality and wanted to search the entire continent. Even before Zeke's rebirth, the Emperor was obsessed with the pursuit of ancient artifacts. Driven by ambitions to unify the continent, they indulged in the absurd dream of immortality. Could it be that the Empire has already discovered the ruins of Taisalu? Then Zeke vanished from the spot in an instant. I'd better double-check. At this moment, a hunting dog is about to send a signal. The next second, Zeke severed his right hand on the spot. This is a yellow signal flare indicating an emergency. So you really are the team leader. There are only 3 of you. Are you the external security team? I remember there are usually 12 people in a group. At this point, he was still thinking of questioning Zeke. Who exactly sent you here? But then Zeke immediately severed his head. Don't you understand the situation? I'm the one who asked the question. Have you thought it through? Whoever answers my question first can die a quick and painless death. The scene shifts, and Zeke arrives at their temporary base. They really turned the outpost into this state, daring to attack the kingdom's soldiers. Are they really searching for ruins? Never mind, I'll just go and see for myself. On the other side, the Hound looked completely listless, never expecting to have wandered into barbarian territory. They also sent people to keep watch. The next second, the 2 hounds were shot dead by Zeke. Meanwhile, one of the people inside the cave seemed to sense something was wrong. Didn't you hear a sound coming from the entrance? Before the 2 could react, Zeke slashed their throats with a single sword strike. At that moment, he suddenly recalled things from the past. This is the feeling Zeke had when he received orders from the boss to enter Pavalara cartel after 5 years of power struggles. At this moment, the team leader slowly spoke up. The short sword technique of the Southern Assassins? McCain or Pavilion, whichever side you're on, now that you're here, you can't leave easily. If you surrender now, I'll give you a quick death. At this moment, Zeke showed a disdainful expression. This guy was at most a blue knight, far inferior to the hounds of his past life. He slowly spoke. You actually want to give me a quick death? Shouldn't you tear me to pieces yourselves to offer as a sacrifice to your comrades? Since that's the case, then let me tear you to pieces. The next second, both sides launched their attacks. Jike was quite puzzled. Was this all the hunting dogs were capable of? Are they too weak or am I too strong? This level of competition is utterly pointless. As Zeke activated his magical reflection, all the lights around them instantly went out. Everyone was utterly shocked. Could this be the Dragon Slayer's magical interference? No, this guy started off empty-handed and didn't use any key at all. Furthermore, the swordsmanship he used was the southern short sword style, so he was definitely an assassin. The team leader then signaled to everyone not to panic, to remain on guard, and that the lights would be repaired soon. But when the lights came back on, this was the scene that greeted my eyes. The team leader was incredulous. What on earth was going on? Just then, Zeke's voice rang out. The Emperor is incredibly audacious, daring to spy on the ruins of Kaishiru. He doesn't admit to this, so what nonsense are you talking about? Don't worry, even if you don't tell me, I'll still be able to find it. Then Zeke slit his neck in the darkness. The scene shifts, and Zeke throws away his short sword, having framed McCain for the entire affair. McCain Carrot was part of an organization Zeke joined in his previous life, a massive organization that would do anything for gold. After the kingdom of Cusco in the southern continent fell due to civil war, McCain and Pavila seized control of this lawless zone. Although one can use dragon skills to conceal their identity using southern short sword technique, he also left a special warning for McCain McCain, saying that doing so would be safer. The Empire will definitely assume it was the work of Karutal in the south. If the Empire takes action to eliminate McCain because of this, it would be a good thing for Zeke. If the letters found inside are authentic, then the Emperor is an even more insane man than I imagined. The Emperor's order was to find ancient ruins. To Zeke's surprise, the battle map included in the letter not only covered the central part of the continent, but also extended to the unknown Dark Sea of the eastern continent, where a truce had been reached. The Emperor deployed the hounds to areas where ruins might be discovered, meaning the hound's strength was roughly equivalent to that of Zeke's previous incarnation. However, they don't seem to have found the ruins of Kaisalu. Just then, a red signal flare caught his attention. Could this be a signal from the Heavenly Net? This occurred right after Jike detected the Heavenly Net signal. He was currently fleeing the stronghold in a hurry. Damn it, I didn't expect them to catch up so quickly. Red signal flare in a net-like formation. The search proceeds from the central area outwards, gradually narrowing the encirclement once the target is located. The hounds in this area will obey the order until it is withdrawn. Seeing the order to kill them is like a death sentence. In his previous life, Jike stole an ancient relic coveted by the Emperor in the northern continent, ultimately meeting a tragic end in a net of inescapable traps. But now Zeke possesses the system. Then we can compete with them. At that moment, Zeke swiftly brandished the short sword in his hand. Then Gib quickly created distance. Just as expected, these guys are on a completely different level from the ones in the cave. At the same time, the hunting dogs that arrived quickly surrounded Jike. This is a huge problem. While using one's true strength could allow them to escape the encirclement, doing so would be tantamount to personally destroying McCain's disguise. There's no other way. This thing isn't meant for this situation, but we have no other choice right now. The next second, Zeke suddenly whistled. Damn it, does he have other companions? Just as the enemy was momentarily stunned, Zeke quickly used a smoke grenade and disappeared from everyone's sight. At this moment, a team leader slowly spoke up. Don't panic. There's no way he can escape this inescapable net. Go back to your positions and find any unusual smoke or figures. However, after searching for a while, nothing was found. The team leader was puzzled. There was no movement at all. Did he think that as long as we blocked their view, they would choose to retreat? Just as he was pondering why Zeke had whistled, a figure flew straight past him in the next second. What exactly happened? He was then shocked by what he saw. They're barbarians. Damn it, why are they attacking us en masse? We didn't do anything to provoke the barbarians. Our current combat strength is extremely dangerous. The team leader then fired a signal flare. Withdraw the net. He then signaled for everyone to evacuate the area immediately. A moment later, Jike crawled out of the ground. I didn't expect the effect to be so good. Barbarian's foot flute, a tool created for rapid communication during chaotic battles. In his past life, Zeke had a chance encounter with the Morgan tribe of barbarians, which taught him how to make horns and signal systems. The signal he just emitted was that outsiders had trampled on the land of the Holy Mother. Although they are considered uncivilized barbarians, they have their own unique traditions and culture, and live in their own unique civilization. Unfortunately, this simple flute can only be used once, so let's go find the real ruins. A moment later, Zeke arrived at a ruin. What stood before him was a dragon whose essence had been corrupted by the polluted aura. There is indeed a large gate here, as seen on the minimap, so he asked the system if it could open that door. Of course, the system opened the gate connecting to the tomb of the Hero King in no time, but at that moment, the dragon suddenly let out a deafening roar. Looks like I can't sneak in now. The dragon slaying technique, applied in practice, saw Zeke rapidly approach the entrance in the next second. At the same time, Zeke used Windwalk to quickly dodge the dragon's multiple attacks. His plan was to use the Shadowless Step to distract them, and then quickly enter the entrance. Just as his plan was about to be implemented, the dragon suddenly opened its blood-red maw. With a loud bang, the dragon pounced on empty air. At that moment, Zeke had already drawn his longsword. The Dragon Slayer Technique, Chapter 7, Section 1, chopping off the dragon's head. As a magnificent figure descended, the dragon's head was severed in an instant. It's acidic blood? Suddenly, Zeke activated his healing factor. The acidic blood combined with the nine-headed monster. Could it be the nine-headed dragon Hadara that his master had struggled to defeat in his past life? Let me test its capabilities. Just after Zeke encountered the dragon species, he was currently engaged in a fierce struggle with him. However, it's clear that the dragon slaying technique did not cause him any harm. Because dragons have long since disappeared in this era, this monster can only be considered the closest thing to a dragon. The dragon slaying technique was completely useless against him. No matter how many times it wounded him, he always recovered from his injuries immediately. But Zeke knew perfectly well that with his current strength, he was simply no match for him. Now we are only about 30 meters away from the gate. Then Zeke gave the command to the window to close the door. The door began to slowly close the next second. At the same time, Zeke unleashed the Dragon Slayer technique and the ultimate technique of Gale. A massive sword aura was unleashed on the spot. Just as he was about to take the opportunity to pass through the gate, his whereabouts were discovered severed at this moment. Then they suddenly launched an attack on him. While Zeke still thought his plan had succeeded, the next second, the dragon's head bit his arm. Then he dragged him into the ruins. Damn it, this guy actually followed me inside. Since you want my arm so badly, here you go. At that moment, Zeke swung his sword and severed his own arm. He then used his healing abilities to instantly restore his arm. Just then, the dragon suddenly spewed a cloud of poisonous mist at him. Damn it, this is never going to end. Upon seeing this, Zeke immediately used his full-body cutting technique to sever his neck. However, Zeke was already exhausted at this point. Facing the attack of the last head, Zeke suddenly activated a dragon skill, Dragon's Majesty. Get out of here if you don't want to be cut into pieces. In an instant, the dragon was enveloped by an intense pressure. Then he began to tremble. Then, terrified, he turned and fled the place. I never expected the Dragon's Majesty to be effective on dragons. I should have used it sooner. What's strange is that even with unlimited stamina activated, why am I still so tired? Could it be because of poisoning? A notification window appears ahead. You have successfully elicited the fear within the dragon species corrupted by the polluted aura. Do you wish to use dragon domination to tame this dragon species? Does it evoke inner fears? Or is it due to the effect of using Dragon's Majesty, taming that terrifying monster? This was a scene Zeke had never imagined. Just as he was thinking of giving it a try, the next second, the system notified him that he wasn't omnipotent enough to subdue the fallen dragon race. Zeke was speechless at this moment. He had been so full of expectations. That's true, it would be strange if such a powerful skill had no limitations. Just then, a sharp pain surged into my heart. The venom of the nine-headed dragon Hadra has exceeded the danger level. Worse still, the cure cannot remove the toxins. Then Zeke suddenly remembered the gluttony skill. If it were a blood-based ability to absorb toxins, it might be able to resolve the poison. Because the blood of the nine-headed dragon is highly poisonous, consuming its blood will certainly grant one resistance to the poison. Without the slightest hesitation, Zeke immediately activated his gluttony skill. The next second, multiple notification windows appeared in front of you. You have eaten the head of the fallen monarch, absorbed the gluttony skill of the designated creature, and your proficiency has increased from novice to proficient. Because only a portion was absorbed, resulting in an incomplete physique, it gained immunity to all poisons. As Zeke suddenly slammed down a punch, his immune system was immune to all poisons, which resolved the toxins in his body. I was right after all. He then checked his status window, which showed that immunity to all poisons could resolve most toxins and strengthen his immunity. I didn't expect that absorbing a specific creature could increase my level. That's really great news. Well, we've already wasted a lot of time because of Hadera, so let's get moving. King Caesar, a legendary figure, is a half-human, half-elf born of a wise sage and an elf king. Like a legendary hero, Caesar's birth was not smooth, as an evil magical plot forced him to separate from his parents. Later, the Holy Wolf raised Caesar alone. Later, Caesar liberated oppressed humanity and established the human kingdom of Cronus in the central part of the continent. This part is familiar to people in central China. It's the beginning of the Caesar legend. However, no evidence has been left in modern times to prove the authenticity of this legend. But there is evidence that the hero Caesar and the kingdom of Cronus existed. Now it is right in front of Jike. Although it was a bit smaller than described in the book, I never imagined that Caesar's ruins were the kingdom of Cronus. However, to be fair, the resting place of the Dragon Slayer also has this kind of atmosphere. With the system's help, Zeke then opened the gate to the ruins of Caesar. The next second, a huge crystal suddenly appeared before his eyes. Is this the secret manual of Hero King Caesar? At this moment, a window notification appears ahead, initiating a quest related to completing the secret manual of Hero King Caesar. You absolutely cannot leave here until you complete the mission. At that moment, the door behind Zeke suddenly closed. Connecting to the true teachings of the Hero King Caesar, you will learn Caesar's secrets within the remaining ruins. There is no time limit, and the reward is the tears of the Elf King. Upon hearing this, Jike was immediately shocked. The reward was actually the Elf King's tears. The King of Heroes' mother is a being capable of granting human wishes. Could he be referring to the Elf King?